hit the wrong button. What's up, everyone? Happy hump day. What's everyone up to this hump day? Hump day. Looks like TikTok is still being a little bit derpy with the merged chat window. I don't know what's going on there. Gonna have to figure that out. So I will try and at least have it up on this monitor by itself. What's up, Hans? How's it going? It's been a long day. Ever have that job where it's like you hate going in every day? I haven't had one of those since I worked in retail, but here we are. It's just grand. And I don't know why the Firefox over here is being derpy with the TikTok live studio thing. Refresh that. What's up, Govy Cat? Nothing like tech issues, huh? So, I got something new. Hold on. Yep. There we go. Was this it? Yeah. We got Zen new server. It's a lot smaller than I thought it'd be. Came in through whatever company this was. New PC, technically. It's a new server. It's gonna be the new pfSense server specifically. But you are all gonna be shocked at how tiny this thing is. This thing has a Xeon D quad core in it, but this will be the core router and firewall of my entire network. That's the front of it. Sleek. That's the back of it. Look how much I/O I have there. We've got 6 gigabit ports. Apparently 2 of those are on an i210, and there's 4 on another. That's an IPMI port. We don't count that. That's like your serial console connection. Then we got 2 10 gigabit SFP plus ports. So I can use an SFP plus module on there, either turn that into the WAN or the LAN. What I'm probably going to end up doing is, at least eventually down the road, turn one into the LAN port, get 10 gigabit for the LAN, and then have up switches down the line that'll be 10 gigabit, so I can have 10 gigabit 2.5 gigabyte. What device is this? It's a Supermicro super server. This is the E300 8D. That's the front of it. That's the back of it. So I gotta get some cables that are long enough to go around, which are coming in. There's no power supply in here. You have to use a DC power supply. So I got one over here and there. How many PCs are running in that room? 2. 2 are running right now. The others are off. But in the home lab, there's quite a few. Okay, technically 3. The logging server's right here. This little guy. That's the logging server. Which eventually I'll decom that for... the plan is, this is going to replace the current pfSense firewall, which is running on an Intel Atom server edition. That old server is going to become the automation server and host all my Dockers and everything. That old one's also going to get a RAM upgrade. 64 gigabytes of DDR4 ECC memory, specifically. And then we got to outfit it with a 2 terabyte NVMe in the old box. And then there's going to be I think there's a 500 gigabyte Samsung 970 that's in here I'm going to take away that I barely used. Datadog, after charging their customers an arm and a leg. They still are pretty great. New Pop! OS release is so good. That's great. I just don't know if I want to upgrade to it because Pop! OS 2604 is right around the corner. And I don't feel like redoing all that. What's a good data removal service? I like Delete Me. They've been one of the OGs in the game. I've been using them for 15 years. I gotta get my affiliate code with them fixed. I don't know if it's still active. Unfortunately, that's one of the perils of, you know, people not signing up for things. After a while, you get no activity, and then you're like, oh yeah, it doesn't work. But yeah, I do like Delete Me, whether or not I'm affiliated. Usually, just so you're aware, I only affiliate myself with products because I like them, not because they pay me. If I happen to like them and then they pay me, that's just a double whammy. Yeah, I've been using Delete Me since they were A-Bind Delete Me. Do I need to update my Pop OS? I mean, for apt update, yeah. But there is Pop OS, what is it? 2404 released. You're still fine on, what is it? 2204 for a while. There's no need, per se, to specifically upgrade if you don't feel like it. 2604 is right around the corner, but 2204 still has security updates until 2027. So either way, you're fine. All right. Let's open up this bad boy. Really? Where's my other screwdriver? I'll use that one. Wait, no. I may have a big... I just gotta get a big enough tip. That's what she said. All these PCs are basically efficient space heaters. So I've actually been using fairly low power. What the hell? Why are you being a dick? There we go. Needed a pretty thick screw. May have kind of stripped it, but I can always replace that. Like my laptop in winter, blasting. If they paid you unholy amounts of money, you would fold. No, I wouldn't. Hell, I turned down Opera GX when they were offering to sponsor me for a few thousand. Okay. You got like a little exoskeleton on top of it. We got two 40mm fans over here. Looks like you can possibly add a third. But you'd have to punch out that section over there. There's like a little metal piece right there. I'm a sysadmin. I have a home lab at the house that I use for learning. Nice! I just got a new piece for upgrading my home lab here. This is going to be my new pfSense firewall. I'll probably get to working on that this weekend, or at least start the process. I want to make sure the lag groups and everything are transferred over. Hey Bark, how's it going? Okay, let's see. Oh, one more screw. Just reinstalled CatchyOS. Yeah. I haven't played with that one. I'm honestly so old at this point that I just don't feel like messing with a bunch over there. So you got two PCI Express X8 slots over here. You will need a riser, but effectively you can only use one of them with the riser because you only have one PCI slot over there. We have an We have a PCI Express X1, so you could potentially put a Wi-Fi card or something like that if you wanted. And then you have an M.2 slot over here. Does have the screw included for that. Got a nice amount of heat sinks over here. So this is an Intel Xeon D 1518 CPU. If I remember, it's a quad core with hyper-threading. I got this because my Intel Atom doesn't have AVX2, and I needed that for Hyperscan and Suricata. You got 4 SATA ports over here. Looks like there's a PPM header as well. You could potentially, my understanding is, put a 2.5-inch drive here as well. That's interesting. There's an actual USB plug right on the motherboard. I haven't done a RetroPie in a minute. But we have a lot of Ethernet ports over here. Oh, that's interesting how they did the power supply. So this board you can actually do as an ATX board, but you can also power it through this little connector here, because they have a direct DC. Well, that's the power button. The DC actually goes in right there, so the power supply is external for this. That's how it's so small. And then I have a rack mount case that will affix to the side to let this slot into a 1U and then hold the power supply next to it. It's a nice looking board. I'm just looking at where this cable's going. Oh, is that the power? No, the power's going all the way. Okay. Power's going from over there. But yep, that's gonna be my new firewall board. Wasn't that expensive for what you honestly get. Now, admittedly, since I bought this, apparently the price has shot up $200. Everything's going up. It does use DDR4 memory, so you don't get the sticker shock of DDR5. Does accept ECC modules, so I'm going to be taking the 2 8GB DDR4 ECC sticks currently in my firewall, put them in here. There's really no reason to have more than 16 gigabytes. Even 16 gigabytes is overkill for most firewalls. My firewall, as heavy as it is, uses at most 6 gigabytes. And that is extremely high-end. I replaced my parents' PC with low power consumption Intel N100 6-watt TDP PCs. No, this does not include RAM. It does not include a disk either. I actually have to figure out which of my SSDs I have spare is going to go into it. So I bought a few SSDs. So for one of the NVMEs is in this little Latte Panda I barely use. I forgot it was here, and I'm like, wait, that's a Samsung 970, and it's barely been used. Like, I probably had this on here for a few hours. It is going to go into the old pfSense server, which is going to become the logging and SIM server. So the idea is the 2 terabyte SATA that I'm putting in there, SATA SSD, is going to be the cold storage, and then I'm going to put the Samsung NVMe in this as the hot storage. And the idea being that logs that are still relatively like new are going to be on that, and then it should move it to cold. So I have to figure out that paradigm. So I got some stuff to do on Saturday, because before I actually want to work on this, I want to move the RAM over and then at least install the 64 gig in the new firewall. I mean the old firewall, which will become the new logging server. But Supermicro's a really solid build quality. I mean, my Atom server, I think, is going on like 5 years almost. I may want to replace the power supply in it, though. But that's always a relatively easy fix. It's a nice little easy construction. I like it. How's the Panda Mini PC? The Latte Panda, it's okay. I got it originally because I was looking for something that was just a little bit more powerful than a Pi. It's not a bad device. Let me put it that way. It just, I barely used the thing. It was a nice purchase. It was just one of those, like, I couldn't really find the use for it, and then also the HDMI dummy plug requirement to run it as a headless server kind of annoyed me. Otherwise the thing would not boot headless. But this is a nice looking box. So I am actually going to do some cable upgrades for my switches. I'm going to be moving from the SFP Plus RJ45 modules to direct attach copper, because I learned, doing a little bit of research, it's not going to add any speed, but it's going to use a little less power, because you use about 4 to 5 watts on those RJ45 transceivers for SFP4, SFP Plus, and they got pretty hot. You can touch them. Now, switches are designed to handle it. They work on a router. This will be my router, eventually. I just got it last night, so I wanted to pop it open. But yeah, it's going to be nice. I have more Ethernet ports than I know what to do with on this. Because I've got 8. 2 gigabit, 2 10 gigabit SFP Plus, and then all of these are gigabit as well. 2 of these are on, I'm trying to remember, I think these 2 go directly to the Xeon processor. Then there's 2 on an Intel i210, and then 4 is on another one. I think those are on an iX. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Unfortunately, I won't be able to work on that properly on stream, because that's going to require me to take the network down. And also show some stuff that I probably don't want to reveal. Like API keys for certain things. But it should be relatively simple. What's up, VTuber? PXSense makes it simple. I should be able to back up the config, then restore it to the new one. It's going to identify that we have different network interface cards. No redundancy for ISP. Yes, I do. It's got, I have failover. I have a cell modem as the backup with 130 gigabytes on 5G per month if something does happen. The interesting thing is, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I fixed a little bit of the latency issues I was getting, and hold up. Get this away for now. This is the rack mount kit for it. It does have redundancy. I have a 5G cell modem as backup, but I did figure out the latency issues with my streams and stuff for people that saw that there was buffering, especially on the YouTube side. It came down to Suricata, the intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system I had. Hey, thank you for the follow.
Imakinsai is now chilling in the lab.
Imakinsai? Imakinchi? However you say it. Anyway, the intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system was running on legacy mode. So the problem with that was it was doing processing after it was going through the network interface card. And apparently, when I moved that to inline, then it actually, like, magically fixed all those issues. But I also did combine it with optimizing the Suricata lists and Yeah. Why did comments get filtered? I don't know. I didn't touch anything. Could you do crypto mining with that? You can do crypto mining with anything, but the honest truth is I don't really see much of the value in crypto mining because crypto bros have ruined everything about cryptocurrency. Don't get me wrong. I like Bitcoin, I like Monero, I like Ethereum, but the crypto bros ruined it. Okay, so this is the rack mount kit for that box. So these two would attach to the side, and then you got a 1U unit I can rack in. Treating crypto as a stock sucked. Absolutely, because it has no fundamentals. And then this is the thing to hold the power supply, because it's an external power supply. Can't believe it was like 70 bucks just for that little piece of stamped metal. It's audio over Ethernet for recording and live audio, avocados. Wait, what are you talking about? And why is some of the TikTok stuff coming through, but not all of it? Interesting. Well, I mean on the chat thing. Just installed Catchy OS. What are the best apps to install? Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, of course, you've got Steam for gaming, Heroic Launcher, again, for gaming. That one's for Epic Games, GOG, and Amazon. Lutris for games that aren't on stores, so I use that for some of my old games. And then, of course, you're going to want your browser. Firefox, Zen browser, Florp, one of those. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to what you're trying to actually do. It's not really like Windows where it's like, oh, you have to install this to remove this bloat or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it really, yeah, it comes down to what you want to do. I have a Samsung. What is the alternative for Smart Switch? And installed DaVinci. Yeah, DaVinci works. Although, I think DaVinci requires an NVIDIA GPU, but some people have figured out how to get an AMD GPU working with it. But I've been using Kden Live. I may eventually move to DaVinci Studio. May. No real requirement to do that, just may. But yeah, what's Smart Switch? Looks like TikTok is getting right speech modded to heck with AI. What are they doing? Yeah, Kden Live is more than good enough. I use it. A lot of YouTubers also use it. I've liked it. I mean, I'm seeing a bunch of comments on TikTok. Problem is they're not coming through on Social Stream Ninja for some reason, which is weird. It's a backup tool, Samsung. Oh, you're talking about for backup? If you're just talking about for a regular computer, there is actually a company I've been talking to. They have an open source product before y'all go, oh, he's shocking, doing this because he made money. No, they have an open source, product. It's on GitHub. It's called Blink Disk. The links are in my bio for that. But you can use it to host it on your local NAS, an S3, WebDAV, FTP, wherever you can store it. You really can store data on there, and it does version control and stuff like that too for file history. It works pretty well. The guy that's making it, really nice guy. We talked for about an hour, and I was giving him feedback and saying you should do this to improve. He was really receptive. You can, they give you like 15 gigabytes for free. You can use them to host the service. That's how they make their money. But the app itself, you can use without having to sign up for anything. It's right on GitHub. TikTok has always had that AI text filter. Have they? I don't know. Maybe I just haven't been on TikTok much. Hold on. Blink disk. Here you go. Blink disk. Like I said, I got a link in the bio for y'all. But their app is actually on GitHub. I'm actually moving all of my backups to that, and the great thing about it is it works on Mac, Windows, and Linux. So you can literally put all your files wherever you want and access all your files wherever you want. So I actually have been recommending... did your gift show up in the chat? Yes, I did. Thank you, Mixed By. Yes, I did. Thank you, Mixed By. Final essay, doing all today, 500 words and slacking, watching you. Did you look into efficiency when getting new tech? I do. I look into the efficiency for what I really need to do for my thing. That always can't work for everything, but it is a consideration. Is it a whole system imaging backup or more of a file system? It's definitely file system. But I really only do file system stuff myself. There's other programs you can use for that, but you can probably do a file system and then use Blink. I mean, you can probably do an image backup, then use Blink Disk to back that up for you. But yeah, that's where I'm moving, because originally I was using Deja Dupe. Deja Dupe is a backup system that you can, integrate inside of Pop! OS with GNOME, but it's a Linux-only system. And it does file system copy. The reason why I really only do file system is because all I really care about is my files, not really so much the OS. I can rebuild everything I really need on Linux in like 30 minutes to 60 minutes, including OS install time. Windows, that's going to take me probably half a day. Because Windows is just Windows. You're sitting there just for what, about a half hour just trying to install the OS? Thinking of getting a Ugreen NAS. I see Ugreen makes NASs and they make stuff. I mean, I just picked up this. It's an external NVMe disk reader. I was going to use that so I could actually go through the different SSDs I have and see which one is actually, well, what the life is on all of them. Because I have like 3 different NVMe SSDs laying around that I just like forgot about. And right now that's like gold. Okay, that's just a card in there. Instructions? Who needs instructions? I probably shouldn't need the instructions. Okay, so let's see how this thing works. And yes, before you ask, chat, I bought this with my own money. Not everything's sponsored. Okay, so you have like, looks like a thermal pad over here. Ugreen makes some pretty good stuff, I will say that. I haven't had much in the way of complaints. Okay. Well, that's nice. It's a toolless setup, so you can actually have that for all sizes of NVMEs. I wonder if that also works with SATA. Probably should look at the box. Output M key, USB-C port. Nope. M.2 NVMe. Compatible systems, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Why doesn't it like Secure Boot? Because Secure Boot sucks. The honest truth is Secure Boot, the issue is that what people need to understand about Secure Boot is all it's doing is requiring you to run signed files. Take one of my old Monero nodes here. wonder if I can read the smart control on this. Why did I just put my screwdriver away? I'm like, I knew I was gonna need that. But yeah, Secure Boot, all it's requiring is you to sign files before you can actually run them. The problem is not all Linux packages are signed. So that's ultimately the problem. And you can use distributions that require signed packages, like I think Fedora is one of those. Don't quote me on that, though. I know RHEL is. But even then, you can install unsigned things. And the honest truth is, the irony is, Secure Boot doesn't really make your computer run all that more secure. I remember when UEFI first came out, even Google was like, no, we don't like this shit. It's insecure. We're gonna go back and build our own custom computers with BIOS. That's nice. Okay. It's got a nice solid pick. Okay, now let's see about the little doohickey they have to hold it in. Okay. So this is apparently a toolless NVMe drive. I'm curious. I haven't read a smart controller in a minute, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of digging. Wait, is that doesn't look in. No, it's not in. That's what she said. So you gotta stick that right around there and then push that in. Yep, now we go. Now it's secure. Okay. So we should have an... Now it does have this little thermal pad here, so if you were gonna like put that away and use it as a flash drive or something, you'd probably want to put that in. I don't need to do that, because we're not gonna really run it that hard. I literally want to turn this on, get an idea of what the smart control says so that I can get an idea of its usage. Because I want to figure out which NVMe to really throw into the firewall. The firewall's really not going to do much in terms of read and write. Like, at all. What the hell? Just push. Does that just... I don't know. Maybe it like requires you to have that. Ah. Okay. Is it in? Okay, so I see a light. I see the light! But is it showing up in my disks? No. Wait. Oh, there it is. Just had to push it in all the way. That's what she said. Okay, that's interesting. So it shows up. That's interesting. So it shows up as PCIe SSD Ugreen. It sees the entire thing. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Cool. So that's at least working. Now let's see if we can get Smart Control working. So we're going to check the health of the disk there. So for those of you that are unaware, many of you probably already know this already, NVMEs have a limited read-write life cycle. God, I can't speak. Usually measured in like terabyte writes. We're not going to be doing a whole lot of writes because this is pfSense, but I still want to learn what, okay, so do I have SmartMon tools? I should. I do not. Okay. So, let's see. Let's see what... I haven't done this in a minute, so I have to look this up. I haven't done this in years. Okay, so they're using Alma Linux over here. Yeah. Install it. Enable Smart Control. Enable and start smart, start blah blah blah. Wait, that's Ubuntu. Okay, there we go. Smart Control version. Alright, so we got Smart Control. That's what I need. Smart Control. Oh, I haven't mounted this, so I probably have to mount it. Wait, did I mount it? Oh, I did. Okay. Oh, I did. Okay. Smart Control -I dev s. Yeah, permission. Can't work. Well, sudo make me a sandwich. Alright. Unallocated NVMe capacity, so the full thing's there. You can even see the serial number on these and everything. Okay. So what I need to do is figure out... That's what I need. Health. Could have just read the man page. Okay, it passed. Can I get more data than that? Can I get more data than that? Takes one device name as the final command line. You have provided 2 device names. How the? That's one! Okay, that might just be an older version. Oh, you want test? Okay. There we go. Test. Okay, so test equals test, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so test equals test, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, I mean, it's showing. Chief, do you have the stream on in the background? BU are repeating sometimes. Wait, Anna? I shouldn't be repeating. I shouldn't be repeating. I shouldn't be. Oh, you hear double too? What the hell? God damn it, Kick. How about now? Oh, the TikTok chat is kind of broken. I did say that earlier. Sorry. Normally I have the mixed chat over here, and for some reason it's not working. You sure it's not repeating? You sure it's not repeating? I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Alright. Well, here's what I'm trying to figure out is... How do I see... of NVMe Linux. Hey, thank you for the follow.
Aqua22 underscore is now chilling in the lab.
I keep forgetting I set that TTS thing up. Okay, method 1, yada yada yada. Method 2. Ooh. Let's see, what does this command say? Echo gigabyte written, echo scale 3, sudo sp. Okay, so it's using smart control in the same way. Total LBAs written. This should work. Okay. Always check our commands to make sure we're not running some stupid stuff. We had a dev the other day that apparently ran an infected thing because they, somehow AI told them to curl a command, but they curled a base 64, which when extracted happened to go straight to a malicious domain. God damn it. Hold on. Oh, there's a script over here. Let's run in VS Code and see how that works. I forgot I had so many VS Code windows up. Okay, that's the Mesh-tastic map tiles. Oh yeah, that's my new project over here. This is NetPulse. It's still in testing, but it's a speed tester for a network, which is gonna plot to Grafana. It's gonna be fun. All right. So, hold on. Let me move that over here for a sec. We're gonna make a new. We're gonna open a folder. We're gonna make a new folder, and. Life cycle. Okay, we're gonna open up that folder over here. Yeah, we'll just save that for now. And yeah, I trust myself sometimes. Okay, so we have this little guy over here. Let's see what they have here. That's pretty straightforward. Smart control. This is a nice, better device printer thing. Now the question I have is, can we sh. I may want to rewrite this a little bit more, because I'd like to make it so I don't have to change the SSD there every time, but this will work for now. Oh wait, what am I doing? I keep forgetting. We have terminal here. Bash. It's probably going to error out. Yep, see? See? I knew it. I knew it was gonna error out. Durka, durka, durka. Okay, standard in text error. It might do a different syntax, that's why. It's doing it straight on number 1. Smart control isn't returning the expected data for your SATA SSD, resulting in empty variables being... But I ran it as sudo. Sudo make me a sandwich. Oh. Percentage used 3%. Power on cycles 45. That's what I was looking for. Power on hours. Host write commands. Ah, that's the issue. It was SATA. It was looking for SATA when we got an NVMe. Gotcha. Percentage used. 3%. That's what we were looking for. This stuff right here. So we've only written 2.6 terabytes on this little guy over here, meaning we've only used 3% of its life. Neat. I'm definitely putting the script up on GitHub later, by the way. Make this so I don't have to edit. With arguments, but default to NVMe. Sometimes I could run through and figure out the logic here, but some days, especially after work, I am lazy. Also, Claude Opus has been working pretty well. But yeah, basically I'm trying to see if it's worthwhile using these NVMe SSDs over here in my pfSense little firewall thing. Now while it's doing that, we're gonna unplug this. And we're gonna get the other one. Oh, that's neat. You can just swivel it around. Ugreen makes some pretty good stuff, I will say that. We'll set this aside back in the adapter. So if you're wondering, this is just a PCI Express X4 adapter that works for really any device, but I got it working for the Rock Pro 64 that used to be my Monero node. Now I've kind of downgraded the node to a Rock 64. The reason for that is, well, I wanted PoE. And you don't really need all that much power when it comes to a node. You really just need AES acceleration. This was the production node originally. Nice fan, see all that. But the config was basically the same. The Rock 64 board, Rock 64 Pro. I can show this on camera a little bit better. But yeah, I 3D printed a case. That's a Rock 64 Pro. Attached a heatsink on. There's a real-time clock battery in there, so I didn't always have to have the time synced properly. Over in the corner over here, though, is an eMMC. That's where I put the OS on, because you know, you technically could boot from an NVMe, but I like to keep the OS separate from the actual data drive. And then all I would do is I'd write the Monero database to it. And I literally would use these cheap inland SSDs that you can get from Micro Center. They work pretty well, but I don't think they have a DRAM cache. But you don't really need that when it comes to a firewall, because it's not going to be doing all that much in terms of reads and writes. Okay. So these are the exact same NVMe SSD. I just want to see what's the health on them. And then maybe we'll check the health on that Samsung too. Alright. look at that. This one has even more life in it. This has a little less than half, or a little bit more than half of the power on hours in that. Now, to give you an idea, we were at what? 16,000 hours divided by 24, divided by 365. That was on for about 2 years. And then this one, round that up to 9,400, divided by 24, divided by 365, just a little over a year. Okay, so this one would probably be what I'm going to throw into the firewall, in all honesty. But let's check the Samsung NVMe that's going to be going into the logging server as well. So if you're wondering what the project these were originally running, it's something called Pinode XMR. And that's how I ran my Monero nodes. Still do. For years. I run my own node, and I have them set up so you can even use Tor, kind of like a VPN service. So I can access them basically anywhere in the world. I'm probably going to open up that server in a little bit and put this one in. Although I also have these. I have these. Aha! Although, I think I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put these. One's gonna go in the TTS server. One's gonna go in the second LLM server. That one's probably gonna go in the second LLM server. The 1 terabyte. The TTS doesn't need much. But then I also have this 512 gigabyte one, which was in my old laptop. What's up, Amazing? How's it going? What's weird is, like, TikTok is not bringing all the comments through. It's the weirdest thing. I wonder if... Oh yeah, I did hear that Australia you have to be 16 plus in order to get on the internet. That is so effed. Like, don't get me wrong. The internet sucks, okay? I'm not gonna lie. The internet sucks. But I don't necessarily think the best thing for kids is to hide them from the evil of the world. I think you should make them aware of the evils in the world, so that way you can better educate them in how to prepare for the world. You ever met that one friend that is, like, so sheltered? And, like, see them go into the real world, and you're like, what? You didn't know about this? And they're, like, taken for, like, every little scam. Ooh. How do you have that many hours? But I must have used that disk for a while. I think I did. Data written 13,000. I don't know. Yep. That little inland is going to be going into the server. You get to win a ride on the PF Sense! It kicked in today. One of my friends from Discord got hit and got to use ID. Is it the same way that you have to, like, actually use your ID? What I mean by that is, because I know, like, the UK Online Safety Act, a lot of people were verifying just with a face, and, it was working that way. Either way, I don't understand why politicians are so out of touch to understand the solution isn't for government to act like the parent. It's to hold parents responsible for not parenting. Or better yet, let's be honest here. The big problem is, what's up, Stabby? Or better yet, I'm kind of tempted to throw this one in, because it is a decent one, but less life. Okay. Oh, hold up. Data written. We got 3. Oh, that's had a lot more data written. Okay, never mind. And all he had to show, all he showed was he had to verify. That's a little bit effed. But as I've been saying for a while, I don't think the solution is government acting as the parent. Let's think about, this problem really stems from a lot of kids don't have their parents actively there. Why are their parents not actively there? Well, both parents have to work in the, in this economy to make ends meet. I'm by no means shunning people for doing that. Let me finish my thought. The problem is that the middle class has been so outpriced. You used to be able to have one parent. And I'm not saying, before anyone reads too much into it, oh, men should go work and women should... No. Look, I believe stay-at-home dads are a thing and should be, an acceptable choice if someone chooses to do that. But the reality is, even single individuals can't afford this economy right now. And that's a huge problem. Because, the cost of renting an apartment is astronomical. You absolutely have to get roommates. And I know some people are like, well, that's not so bad. And I agree with that to a point. But you should have the ability, if you want, to be like, oh, I can have a nice place and, rent it with a few people. Or I can get a not so great place and then rent it by myself. Because maybe, if you're like me, like I was when I was, working and all that, I just needed a place to rest my head. As long as it was reasonably safe and I could go to work and no one would bother me, who cares? But this economy is really effed right now. Nothing is really affordable. Oh, did you hear that Trump is getting upset and calling affordability the biggest scam? Of course that guy would say it is. He's never had to worry about affordability. Dude's been born with a silver spoon in his mouth all his life. Once upon a time in my life, I actually was dumb enough to believe, maybe if we, just let the rich people do more things, we could have more money. And yeah, government does suck to a point, but eventually you wake up and you realize you're dealing with a shit sandwich on either end. A small loan of $1 million, absolutely. For some of my business stuff, I got a small loan of $5,000. $5,000, still a little bit of money, but I would still consider that a small loan in terms of business. Oh yeah, and that small loan of $1 million, wasn't he talking about that loan in the 1980s? I think if you put inflation on that, somebody can probably run that inflation calculator right now. If you extrapolated that for inflation, you'd probably find that it's several million. Hey, puppers. Hey, doggo. What's up, Ari? Well, I'm in the middle of doing something, so you're gonna have to wait a sec. Dude, stop licking my feet. My dog is licking my feet. Also rocking Supermicro motherboard. Specifically the X8 DTH. Oh, nice. Yeah, I like Supermicro. I have... This is the E300 8D. This is just a little small Xeon 1518 in here. It's going to be my PF upgrade. But I also have currently, what is it, the Sys 5019A FTN4 is the current firewall. Rocking an Intel Atom Server Edition C3758 and 16 gigabytes of ECC memory. So I just wanted to throw the SSD in here for now so I would not forget which one I want to use later. I will grab the memory out of it later because I have to shut down the firewall to grab it and swap memory, and then I'll temporarily upgrade it. What am I going to use it for? Oh, this is just my, this is going to be my home firewall. So the current firewall has been running great. There's no issues with it, except for the fact that every time there's a Suricata rule reload, the CPU gets throttled to 100%. And that happens twice a day. Now, it only happens for 5 minutes at a time, but it's still an issue. So I got the Xeon D upgrade because it has AVX2 and it's a much stronger CPU. The Atom processor, when the rules aren't reloading, it's about 20-25% usage most of the time. The other reason I got this is that this has 10 gigabit networking over here. So this is gonna be the start of me slowly iterating to 10 gigabit networking throughout the house. I already have Cat 6a shielded throughout the house. So yeah. Can I have your old firewall? No! The old firewall is becoming the logging server. We discussed this. It's gonna have, it's gonna be running my, OpenSearch, my Docker containers, my Grafana, the Influx DBs that I run. It's going to be running the speed tester on it. It's going to be the logging and SIM server. What do you use for your modem? It's just a basic Motorola or Aris modem for cable. It works for my network speeds. Unfortunately, a lot of parts in the USA still have not upgraded. But if I ever do get proper fiber, which may happen in a year or two at this point, I will be prepared for it. I've got the rack mount kit as well for this. I'm not sure I'm gonna ever use a riser card on here, but I'm probably going to buy a riser card just because if I ever do upgrade and want to use that PCI Express slot, I'm gonna need to. That's a lot on the Atom. Not really. It's an 8-core. That Atom's actually handled a lot. And all of my Dockers right now are running on a Raspberry Pi 4. So, it's not going to be all that much. I have the logging and SIM server basically on, let me move my screwdriver and stuff. That's the memory upgrade for the Atom. 64 gigs of ECC memory. That's what's running my logging and SIM server right now. It's a Purism Librem Mini with a Core i7-10510U and 32 gigs of RAM and a 2 terabyte NVMe. It barely is using any CPU. It meets GSM standards, but good luck finding a provider that's okay with you using your something other than their scrap. Yeah, that is the problem. And then I have a backup cell network for my home internet. But yeah, it's a cute little firewall box. So I will probably start on the network upgrade maybe Saturday. Start early in the morning. That way I can probably be done before movie night. Which, by the way, movie night, Saturday, 9 o'clock Eastern. We do that in the Discord. You're allowed to join the Discord. Links are in bio for all of you. I just assumed running all that in a Docker would be load heavy. Actually, no. The Docker processing is more so RAM heavy than CPU. The CPU usage is more so what it's actually doing. So let me put that. I can box that up in a sec. I can actually show you. So SSH 192. Okay, so this is the Raspberry Pi that's running everything over here, right? Was it Docker ps-a? So these are all the Dockers running here. Yeah, it says one's unhealthy. I just got to change the health metrics for it, but it's running fine. We've got BoonTube Demon, which is checking for when I have a YouTube video go live. Yo Mama Bot, which is for Yo Mama jokes inside the Matrix and Discord server. Star Demon, which is monitoring for when I start something on GitHub and then post it to everywhere. Stream Demon, which is monitoring for when I go live on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube, and then post everywhere. And Penguin Overlord, which is the bot that runs the Discord quite a bit, all right? That's all running there. Look all of what it's doing on a Raspberry Pi. It's barely doing shit. So if you notice, most of what's used there most of what, if you notice what's used here, sorry, I was just looking at a chat over there, is memory. So if we look at the memory, it's all Python processes. So you see Python, Stream Daemon, all that, Docker, all that. So it's mostly just memory usage than anything. The actual processing is very little. Now, I can actually show you it being used. So I'm going to go over to the bot command over here, right? We'll just have my bot over here. We'll overlay this a little bit so you can see that. All right. So let's... There we go. Like, look, it shoots up, does the thing, quiets down. Like, the processing itself is only when the Docker's actually running. Otherwise, it's sitting there. Now, another way that I actually am more efficient with memory usage, because if you notice in the Discord channel, we have all these, you know, news feeds here. Those aren't always running. So I actually do systemd timers. Let me open up a new window here. And I've actually grown to like systemd timers a lot. Yep. And yeah, Penguin Overlord. That should have plenty of them. Okay, so that's the actual bot I run. By the way, this is all on GitHub. This isn't like trade secret or anything. I open source all of this for you guys. So these are all the cogs, as you see, that, you know, run the thing. As you can see, there's the Python scripts over there. But then... how did I organize this? God damn, it's been a while. Cogs are there, socials, utils. Wait, did I change it up? Oh, that's the cache. Oh, here we are. Install systemd. So this little script here will actually set it up and then set up systemd timers. So it actually creates all of these for the different projects and all of that. So what that effectively means is that it has systemd set a timer up, so however often I have it check for news feeds, it will only run and then check for those news feeds and then shut down. So it's a lot more efficient. Don't let him lie to you. He hides half his codes. Yes, it's underneath the fake rock in front of my house, okay? Can I ask for your opinion on buying used server hardware for a home lab as a college student? Yeah, it's totally worth it. I got a lot of my start with home labbing from used hardware. I am a big proponent of secondhand machines because they often have nothing wrong with them in terms of your, capabilities with them. Like, let's take right now. It's a perfect time to be buying used hardware for two reasons. That's four when you have two fingers. But for two reasons. Simply put, one, with DDR5 prices and memory in right now, it's all insane. It's expensive to go build new anyway. Two, a lot of the hardware out there right now, secondhand on the market, you can get are machines that were like Windows 10. Now, I know this doesn't apply specifically to servers all the time, but you can maybe get some old server stuff, you know, using consumer hardware and everything. But a lot of the hardware out there that is being, you know, e-wasted because it just is only able to run Windows 10 and it can't run Windows 11 is still perfectly good hardware for you to set up a home lab with Linux and FreeBSD. And that is one of the reasons why I fell in love with Linux, especially during my college years. Because, one, if you're, you know, wanting to, you know, get professionally in IT and cybersecurity, you need to learn about Linux. Two, it is a lot more cost-effective to learn on Linux and FreeBSD because you don't have to worry about licensing costs. You just have to, well, for the most part, unless you're talking Red Hat and stuff like that. But we're not going to go down that route. But, you can experiment with a lot of things, because the problem that I find with a lot of the ways, you know, Windows has you operate things, is you're constantly in the mode of, well, why is there a screw here? God damn it, where did I leave a screw out to? Oh, maybe it was the screw loose in my head. ADHD moment. But the, words. Yeah, so when you use Windows, the one problem that I've run into, among many, is you have to pay for, like, every single piece of software and hardware. Well, you have to pay for hardware anyway, but you have to pay for every single piece of, technology you're tinkering with, basically, and then you're just so constrained on what you can do. Okay, that's how that works. But yeah, totally worth it to get used hardware. Nothing wrong with that in many cases. What is FreeBSD used for? FreeBSD has a lot better network stack, and it's actually a little bit more focused on security. Now, you know, as the one insufferable person that came into my stream one day and threw a hissy fit, you know, was like all about, yeah, there is licensing differences, but for the most part, that won't matter to home labbing. I like FreeBSD's network stack a lot better than Linux. That's partially why I use pfSense. pfSense runs FreeBSD, not Linux. And you can do things like jails, which are like ways to, you know, containerize and secure things and all that. But FreeBSD is used for quite a bit. It's just not as popular. But if you learn to use it, it's very, very powerful. You can make some great web servers and stuff running it. But yeah. Turn use not Windows 11 capable into Proxmox that can virtualize to meet the Windows 11 requirements. Or, hear me out, just don't use Windows. Look, I use Windows where I absolutely have to, like my stream PC over here, but the majority of my day, outside of work, I don't need it. She's Docker? Docker? I barely know her. God damn it. Where's that guy that's usually in here with the funny puns? Because I'm like, he's been quiet on puns today. Oh, so I'm waiting for my cable mod cables. So I'm going to be upgrading the PC over here, but I want to keep the color theme, the black and yellow cables I have. So I got the new power supply here, and of course we have my new upgraded GPU. No, I did not pay $900 for it, like the tag says. I paid $820 for this. It's a 5070 Ti, not a regular 5070. But I figured that's the one upgrade I can actually justify doing with DDR5 prices the way they are. So, it is what it is. Oh, also, do y'all like my CrowdStrike bottle? No, they're not sponsoring me. They just gave us some swag at work. And it is a good bottle. But, it pairs nicely with my CrowdStrike Yeti coffee mug. I don't even drink coffee that much. I might just drink it just to use this. I got the MSI 5070 Ti 3 fan in June. Nice. Yeah, I was hoping I wouldn't have to upgrade my machine until later on in the year. With RAM prices going the way they are, it was like, dude, I just couldn't wait. What's CrowdStrike? CrowdStrike is an endpoint detection and endpoint extended detection response system. Essentially, it's antivirus, but antivirus is not really enough anymore. What do I mean by that? Antivirus is definition-based. So the problem is, like, say you have some polymorphic virus that basically changes its code and all that stuff. That's not going to help, because antivirus, traditional antivirus, works on signatures. And if there's no signatures for the definitions to find, well, it's not going to work. So what an EDR XDR does is it looks at behaviors of what applications are doing. What's it accessing? How's it sending it? How is it doing the thing? And it maps it often to MITRE, which is a framework I can show you over here. MITRE framework. It's the MITRE attack framework. So basically, you have this entire... Sorry, TikTok, you're getting part of the screen cut off. You got reconnaissance, resource development, initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, command and control, exfiltration, and impact. So it maps it to this entire table here. And this is actually really great to look at. So you can actually, you know, like say, okay, it's doing ESXi administration command. It's doing external remote services. But basically, when we look at threat actors, we look at their patterns they use using this. Now, Microsoft has another thing called Stride. What does Stride stand for? Microsoft Stride. They have another model, threat modeling. And that's what Microsoft uses. Spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege. Stride. When looking for PC parts, what would you say is a good site to see what parts are compatible with each other? PC Part Picker. Unless you're doing enterprise stuff, that's a little bit different, but PC Part Picker is fine. I generally don't use it, not because it's bad, but because I've been doing this so long, I just kind of know what works with different things. That's an experience thing. Do you think you'll ever be able to quit your 9-to-5 and do social media full-time? Could I? I mean, on one hand, that sounds nice. On the other hand, that sounds horrible. I don't know if I would ever want to do that, but I'd like it to be a full-time, not a full-time, but a full-on proper side hustle that brings in secondary income. My main goal is to be able to first pay the mods and stuff that actually help me out, especially the one that does the clipping of my videos for TikTok and such, a decent wage. I want to take care of them first. Then we can worry about me. I got a job. For now. But let's say that that time ever comes. I would enjoy going to various cybersecurity conferences just for fun. Like, I would love to go to Germany with the Chaos Communication Conference. I'd love to go to B-Sides around the world. And of course, DEF CON and GERCON and various B-Sides around the country. And then there's like Wild West Hackers and Hackers Teaching Hackers and Queen City Conference and all these other cybersecurity conferences I've never been able to really go to. Well, I ran into an issue and someone put me on the bin. What's that mean? But, yeah. Too much people for me. What, the social aspects of it? Yeah, it's just, I've thought about this, but I also, here's the thing that I don't want to become with social media. I see a lot of people, and I've seen this with content creators that are in the tech space that get really, really full of themselves, and I want to stay the way I am and be the chill dude for everybody. And I first want to take care of my people and those around me. I ain't done shit except keep your Discord clean. This is true. You've done a great job, Vampire. And you've helped me get a lot of videos to put on the review on stream, which we're going to be starting. After I go to the bathroom really quickly. Yeah. Alright. We gotta find where I actually left off on review on stream. I may do an extra video to catch up on review on stream Friday, maybe. We'll see. We ended on the Crunchyroll video. Wait, no, we did the... We'll skip that video. We'll do the... Okay, Pixel Buds 2 repairability. But, let me go to the bathroom. Nature's calling. Minute and a half break. I'll be back. Y'all might see some ads or a BRB screen. Either way, you're not missing anything. Except me going to the bathroom and washing my hands. All right, we are back. Okay, so let me get the reset pipewire command going so y'all can get audio. Cool. Make sure the audio's piping through.
Front, left.
Okay, I'm not hearing it though. This mixer for some reason needs me to unplug it and plug it back in.
Front, left, front, right.
Alright, we're good there. Okay, Pixel Buds to repairability. Vampire put this on. This sheet is a reference to Spaceballs. We ain't found oh, yeah, when they had the little fro pick in the desert. Yeah, that's a good scene.
Apple walked so the Pixel Buds 2a could run. iFixit's teardown of the new Pixel Buds proves that the iPhone people are just being difficult for the sake of squirting glue everywhere. At least with the
I've been saying that for a minute.
Because while the actual bud parts of the Pixel Buds 2a are pretty much just as bad as AirPods in terms of repairability.
Yeah, why can't they be repairable?
E-waste, the case is incredibly easy to fix. Two easy to access screws can be removed to get at a whole almost modular setup complete with a replaceable gasket for splash resistance, battery that pops out, and a cute little drawer complete with a mint colored pull tab that shows you this is definitely what you should be yanking on. No heat or smudging necessary. Apple walked so the Pixel Buds 2.
Yeah, I don't understand why Apple does a lot of the things they do, because you really could make a really nice repairable device. I don't know. Alright, got another one. Shocking news, millions could lose access to their credit cards. This is an interesting video that I saw. I don't really follow this guy. I don't think so. Yeah, it just came up. Somebody shot it to me outside of here and is like, you should watch this 10-minute video starting next week. Apparently, no more Visa. Yeah.
We have breaking news. If you have a Visa or MasterCard logo on your debit or credit card, stores can now decline your cards and banks aren't telling you why.
Ooh. I'm curious what the story is here.
If you have any Visa or MasterCard in your wallet, very soon you may walk into a store, swipe your card, and the screen flashes declined. Not because you're out of money, not because your bank froze your account, but because the store chooses not to accept that card anymore. Yeah, you heard that right.
Wait.
Yes, stores may soon reject your Visa or MasterCard even
why?
if you've been using it for years. But the question is why?
Yeah,
because
that's the
Visa
question I
and
have.
MasterCard just got hit with a $38 billion settlement that flips the power dynamic upside down, giving the stores the right to pick and choose which cards they accept and which ones they ban.
New settlement in the works between some major credit card companies and merchants that accept those cards could change what fees you pay and whether you can even use what's in your wallet to make that purchase.
And trust me, that tiny logo on your card is about to determine whether you can shop or whether you get publicly embarrassed at checkout. So in today's video, I'm breaking down which stores may stop taking your Visa or MasterCard, which types of cards are most likely to be rejected, which card might cost you more to use.
I already understand that you can't
even
use
if it
your
works,
American
how
Express
this affects
everywhere.
groceries, gas, travel, restaurants, online shopping, and how to avoid the new fees and awkward declines before they hit. Because this is truly the biggest credit card shakeup in 3 decades, and almost nobody understands how extreme this is about to get. So buckle up, because what I'm about to show you is going to change how you shop for the rest of 2025. So let's go ahead and jump right into it and talk about what the $38 billion settlement
on
actually
TikTok
means.
with Linux?
For
Get the
over
OBS
30
code
years,
and use
Visa and
OBS.
MasterCard forced stores into
can also
a
use
rule.
the Stream
If you
Elements
take a
plugin to do
Visa,
that easily.
you must take a MasterCard too. Stores hated that. But why? Because both companies kept raising interchange fees, aka swipe fees. The fees stores pay every time you swipe. Grocery stores, gas stations, mom and pops, they were drowning in these fees. So merchants fought back in court, and after 3 decades, they won. Listen to what I just said, after 3
3 decades, goddamn!
That's how long this court case actually took. Now stores can legally say, we take this Visa card, but not that Visa card.
Hold up.
We accept MasterCard, but not premium MasterCards. We don't accept Visa at all, or we don't accept MasterCard at all. It's like airlines suddenly deciding which passengers they want to carry. Same card network.
At least this won't affect my Costco shopping with my Costco card.
Totally different rules. This is truly unprecedented. Now let's talk about why stores might reject your card specifically, because here's the twist. Not all cards are created equal. Some cards cost stores way more to process. Examples?
I know, like American
Visa
Express
Infinite,
is bad.
Visa Signature, MasterCard World, MasterCard World Elite, premium travel credit cards, and premium reward cards. These are the cards that
Really?
come with perks like airport lounges, cash back, travel credits, extended warranties. But guess who pays for all those perks? The merchant, not the bank, not Visa, not MasterCard, the store.
But that's
So
gonna
when you
hurt
swipe
people
a
wanting to
premium
get the card if they can't use
stores
the card
lose
to get the
money.
points.
Now they have the power to say,
They're
no
screwed.
thanks, it's too expensive. Not accepting that card anymore. Imagine buying groceries and you pull out your shiny rewards card and the cashier says, sorry, we don't accept that level of Visa anymore. Boom, declined. Not your fault, not your bank's fault, just straight up not
Hey, declined. You too rich for us, bitch.
accepted. And it's about to happen more than you think. Now let's talk about new credit card surcharges that are coming. This is the part that nobody's prepared for. Now that stores can separate card types, they can also create different
Yeah, Costco
surcharges.
only use Visa. I don't
Basic
think they
Visa
accept
plus
MasterCard.
2%.
I'm not
Visa
mistaken.
Signature plus 3.5%. Visa Infinite plus 4%. MasterCard World Elite plus 5%. And yes, I just said it, 5%. That means your
Goddamn.
$100 purchase could quietly become $105 just because of the type of card you use. So what will happen is you will start to
points have
see
always been
credit
a
card
lie.
fees,
I've never understood the
premium card
point
fee,
thing
a processing surcharge,
cases.
restaurants, stores, nail salons, mechanics, delivery services. Everyone's going to be doing this. People already struggling with inflation, this is going to crush them, but we're just getting started. So we gotta ask the question, why is this happening right before the holidays? You think this timing is random? It's not. It's because it's holiday season. Because the holiday season equals highest swipe volume of the entire year. Most Americans won't notice a $2.30 surcharge here, a $1.75 fee there, but multiply that across gifts, groceries, travel, restaurant, decorations, holiday parties.
I mean,
You're
I
looking
vowed
at
to never shop
hundreds
at said
added
store
to
and
your
bitch to
holiday
everyone about
budget
it.
without you
Well,
even
yeah.
realizing.
Like, I mainly just use my credit union credit card. That's my primary card. But then I also have my Micro Center credit card, which I only use at Micro Center because, you know, you can get 5% discount there. And with the amount I spend there, that's a good chunk. And then I have my Costco card, which I really just use for Costco and gas. You know, you get nice rewards for shopping at Costco with it. And I think other than that, I like have an Amazon credit card, which I use for Amazon. But other than that, the credit union card is pretty much the only one I use for everything. But it's like a kind of... No, it is a signature. Ooh.
Retailers know this, and they're rolling out the new rules right when customers are least likely to complain. And you gotta understand that debit cards are not the magic solution. People online are already shouting, just use debit, avoid the fees. Hold on.
Debit
hold
cards still
on.
have fees.
Debit cards do come with lower merchant fees, but they come with a major risk. If your debit gets skimmed, hacked, cloned, or stolen, fraudsters drain your actual money, not your credit line, your bank account.
This is what I've always told people, and they're like, "What, Chief, why do you use credit cards? Why do you use credit cards? Like, don't you have money?" And I'm like, if I use a credit card and I get a fraudulent charge, which has happened, it's much easier to dispute that. And at most, my liability, at most, and I've never gotten charged this, is $50. But you get a debit card, you go through the same thing, you can spend days, weeks, sometimes months until you get your money back. And that's your actual money. So imagine you now can't pay rent because that one thing happened. Now, the debt trap that a lot of people fall into is they get a credit card. The credit card, then, you know, they raise the limit that you're allowed to use on it. And then they, you know, spend more than they can afford to actually spend. And that's how they get into that debt trap. Avoid that. And also get a low interest credit card if you do have to float balances. Credit unions are really great at that. Like the one I'm at is like about 14%. The average credit card I've seen is about 28.99%. So, yeah, do your research on that kind of stuff.
That's what they get a hold of. Credit cards have zero liability protections, fraud buffers, delayed transaction posting, and chargeback rights. Debit cards do
We just talked about that.
If someone hits your debit card, your cash is gone instantly. You're fighting the bank to get it back while bills bounce.
What did I just say?
Solve one problem and create another. And here's the part that nobody's talking about. Even cash isn't safe anymore because the penny is effectively gone. And when cash transactions round up or down, round up, you pay more. Round down, the store loses money. And this is exactly why stores hate dealing with cash entirely. Some even stopped accepting it. So now you're entering a world where premium cards, rejected or extra fees, debit cards equal higher fraud exposure, cash equals rounding issues or not accepted, basic credit cards equal new surcharges. Everything is getting more expensive no matter which direction.
Oh, that's going to get confusing.
I want to give a special shout out to all my beasters out there that are working hard to fix their credit using Dispute Beast, the most advanced AI credit repair software ever created that comes with a 110% money back guarantee. But specifically to Tanya. Tanya's credit score went up 289 points after just one round with Dispute Beast. And Christian's credit score
I've never had to actually dispute something on my credit card.
Points after just one round with Dispute Beast. And let's not forget about Allison. Allison's credit score went up 204 points after just one round with Dispute Beast. Dispute Beast link is going to be in the video description and pinned at the top of the comments for anyone that needs to fix their credit. But now let's talk about how this affects groceries, gas, travel, and online shopping. Now, grocery stores expect different fees by card level. Premium cards get punished the most. Gas stations, many already charge a credit price. Now they may expand it to tiers of cards.
I just use Costco credit card at Costco Gas.
Cost the most to process. We may see travel agencies pushing debit or basic cards. Restaurants, small restaurants lose big on premium card fees. Declines or surcharges will be most common.
Not my Waffle House!
Shopping, some websites may add auto fees based on your card's BIN number. Your experience shopping online could change overnight. Last part's the most important. Now let's talk about how to avoid the new fees and awkward declines. Because
hold on. The video's louder than me. That's a hard feat. Hold on. What the hell? What the hell? Okay, that should be good. Is this better?
You can adapt to this. Here's what you need to start doing immediately. Number one, ask your favorite stores what cards they accept now. I know this sounds awkward, but it saves you embarrassment later. Number two, carry at least 2 different card types. Not 2 Visas, not 2 MasterCards, 2 different networks.
I actually do that.
A great example, Discover, Visa.
I don't have a Discover card.
Express.
I don't know if I want a Discover card.
So much trash about American Express. It's not accepted everywhere.
Oh yeah, the store's not accepting cash as BS too, because there are times when you're going to want to use cash instead.
In my lifetime, that an American Express card.
Dude, the video has that gold mic. Of course, it's louder.
And that was at a small mom and pop restaurant both times. Now, 3, don't rely exclusively on premium cards. They're the most likely to get hit with fees. Basic cards may become your daily driver. That's just a cold, hard truth. Number 4,
that's pretty much what I do with my credit union.
Again, every time. You'll start seeing new fees.
I check my receipts anyways.
Merchants aren't going to tell you about them, even though they should.
Because you never know when they double charge things.
There's supposed to be a sign that tells you exactly what the fee is going to be.
So what I say about crypto in stores? Oh, I've actually seen stores that have accepted cryptocurrency.
Spread your card usage. Don't let one single card blow up your budget with hidden surcharges. Number 6, budget more strategically.
There's a law where stores have to take cash.
Prices to
I thought that's the case,
fees alone.
but I've heard some are just not taking it, period.
Without realizing where it went. You'll be confused.
But I know the government must accept it, period.
Declined at random stores, why restaurants add mysterious little fees, and why your holiday budget explodes, why rewards feel worse than ever, and the worst part, you'll think it's your fault when it's really the system changing behind your back.
Safe way to buy online without having to put your card details,
you stay ahead of everyone else. You control how you pay.
So if you're looking for ways to actually use your card safely, Apple Pay, PayPal, and Google Pay, kind of. I'm not really a fan of Google Pay and how they do it. But Apple Pay actually has a really nice payment system that randomizes the credit card when you use it for purchases. Now, that's if the, the vendor that you're using accepts it. Now, there are more and more shops that are accepting Apple Pay. PayPal, as much as we complain about PayPal, I'm not saying they are a saint by any means. Then, they're great. Privacy card. Well, the problem with privacy.com is it doesn't work with credit cards. And again, this goes back to what he's saying. Now, privacy.com can allow you the ability to set debit cards up with limits and all that. So it can only spend a certain amount of money. But in the case of it's actually fraudulent or stuff like that, that can actually be an issue there. But yeah. Looks like that only pertains to gov-controlled businesses. I think that's the case.
You control how much you lose. You stay protected. This is financial survival in 2025. Now, these are my final thoughts. The settlement is reshaping the entire U.S. payment system. Stores have new freedom, card networks are shifting costs, and rewards are getting targeted. And consumers, people just like you, are caught in the crossfire.
And this is getting worse.
How to avoid...
So, y'all don't remember this, but debit cards used to actually give you cash back. You used to actually get cash back with the debit card, and I didn't even realize that when I was like, I think it was like 20 years old, and I'd realized I had racked up cash back for like 4 years of using my debit card for all these things that I straight up had like $1,000 or some dollars. And I got to pay off bills because I was like, what the hell is this? Wait, I got cash back? Bill paid, bill paid, bill paid. But you don't get cash back on debit cards anymore. You only get cash back on credit cards. And certain credit cards at that.
Fees and how to avoid embarrassing declines and how to protect your money when the rules of shopping are changing. Stay alert, stay informed.
Cash App gives you cash back and points. I just don't really like Cash App or Venmo, really.
MasterCard, so I know you made it to the end. And if you have any collections, charge-offs, or negative items that you...
Cash App is debit. Yeah, but the issue is there's a lot of issues when it comes to Cash App and stuff. All right, so we got another video here. How did a 27 million model even beat ChatGPT? So here's the thing. ChatGPT has not been that great. I think a lot of you have noticed this, that ChatGPT, the quality, it's just been declining. But also, we've even shown on my streams over here, I have my own LLM server, which works really, really well. This is running locally in my network. You can see local address. And you can actually, do really well. Like, this is Gemma 3 4B, which is running on an NVIDIA 3050. And then I've got 12B running on a 5060 Ti, just because it needs more VRAM. I'm going to play with more models later. But Gemma 3 has actually been really impressing me as a ChatGPT replacement. And I can, let's say, let's go to Ars Technica, okay? I want you to see this in real time, all right? So we're just going to pull up a article here. All right. Here, we'll just take this article. All right, we'll take this article over here. Look up this article and summarize it for me. All right, we're doing this on my local machine using an NVIDIA 3050 and my own, network and everything, all right? Look how fast it's going to go. That's a lot faster than ChatGPT. Look at that. And that's 4B. That's the lower end version. That's not even 12B. 12B is a lot more accuracy and, can do a lot, quite a bit more. And then there's the 27B, which is the largest one they have open source. But yeah, so let's watch this video here. and see what they're talking about.
The consensus right now is we need to scale AI, the bigger the better. Hundreds of billions are being spent in hopes that
F you, Altman!
scaling, yet no matter how good LLMs have become, they are still stuck solving logical puzzles that we unironically refer to as an AGI benchmark. But in the opposite direction of this scaling virus, a new fascinating idea has emerged in the AI research field. What if we just have a model that can think and refine an answer until it is confident to tell you the answer? So it all
I
started
like
with
that
this
idea.
research called HRM, short for Hierarchical Reasoning Model. This model came out of nowhere and suddenly became comparable or even outperformed state-of-the-art LLMs from OpenAI, xAI, Anthropic, and Gemini, scoring a staggering 32% on ArcAGI benchmark.
Wait, what?
And solving Sudoku on levels that current LLMs can't even compete with.
What?
But what's actually the highlight about this HRM is that it is a model with only 27 million parameters. Million, not billion, by the way. With
What the?
GPT-4 as a known parameter count of at least 1 trillion parameters, 27 million parameters is like 35,000 times smaller, yet it is going head to head with the giants on this AGI benchmark. This sentence alone is already clickbait enough. Of course, the community would go wild when this just came out.
But how does this
it got
work?
even
I gotta wrap my
crazier.
head around this.
Version called TRM, short for Tiny Recursion Model, was published 1 month later that stretches the performance while being 4 times smaller than
That's from
HRM.
Samsung.
So what is going on? Has scaling AI always been the wrong direction? Well,
Oh,
today
yeah.
I'll be demystifying this hierarchical.
Does this mean that ChatGPT has just screwed us all over in terms of hardware for absolutely nothing in their ever-growing pursuit to actually, get all the hardware so that we basically have to use their services as software as a service, when really we should be focusing more on having our own private LLMs, like with 27 million parameters? Like, hell, I just showed you Gemma 3.4b doing really well, and this is beating that? Damn!
Or recursive model for you, as we'll find out how this recursion model actually works, how impactful this model really is, and what it could mean for the future of AI paradigm. And before I dive into it, with how fast AI research is advancing but how slow the public is adopting AI, there has never been a better time to ship
Who's the sponsor?
and start an AI
Who's the
business.
sponsor?
Starting a business isn't easy. What's a viable idea?
Squarespace?
A sustainable business model?
Or is it some AI
simply
product?
What would actually work? These are all the questions you may have.
Wait
when
for
starting out. Well,
it.
there's a faster way, which is to learn from what's already working. Especially if you're looking to learn from real examples, this free playbook from HubSpot called the AI Business Playbook shows you 7 AI companies.
It is an
that
AI
turn
product
simple
at least,
ideas
but
into millions. Inside, you would understand and see how a 16-year-old turned a camera to calories demo into a 24 million ARR app in 10 months by advertising very cleverly. You'll also see how a college writing copilot grew to millions of users by zooming into citations and plagiarism checks instead of trying to be the everything writer. And my favorite part is how it breaks down the patterns across all these companies, like how they all used existing AI tools and just focused on solving real problems. So if you want a closer look at how people are making successful AI apps, check out this free playbook using
I'm
the link
making
in the
AI
description.
apps.
And thank you, HubSpot.
I
for
just
sponsoring
open
this
source
video.
my
Anyway,
stuff.
the illusion of the ArcAGI benchmark is that it makes every model competing on this benchmark seems like they are all on similar capabilities to LMs like ChatGPT, being able to solve math questions, writing scientific essays, and trade crypto at 20 times the leverage. But in fact, there are models on here that are not language models.
Should I make a bot that trades crypto? No, I shouldn't do that. I might. Give it $100, see what happens.
It being solely made to solve puzzles in a highly restrictive domain like ArcAGI. If you don't know what ArcAGI is, it is this benchmark where AI has to find a pattern in some example grids and predict how a given grid would look like by understanding the example pattern, very similar to what you would see on IQ tests. And unlike other language models, these tiny recursive models are trained specifically to solve a task like ArcAGI and other logical puzzles. Its in and outputs are just the color grid itself, and it is incapable of generating words or do other fancy stuff, which you can say that we did not arrive at some sort of super intelligence. But what researchers actually discovered is a highly efficient model that excels at solving logical problems under a highly restrictive and clearly defined rule-based setting. So if you compare it apple to apple with a generalizable monster of an AI god that can understand natural language and do pretty much anything, which many people believe are conscious and is going to destroy everything eventually, it doesn't make much sense.
That's weird
So
that
let's
people
step
think it's
back a
actually
bit.
conscious,
What's
but okay.
actually really impressive about recursive model is that it proved hard state-of-the-art logical problems aren't a domain only solvable by LLMs. Small models are capable too. And the highlight is no other small models have ever come close to performance this crazy. So how does it achieve this? The idea first gained attention with the release of HRM, short for Hierarchical Reasoning Model. It doesn't really explicitly say that it's a recursive model, but the logic is similar.
Well, no, but actually, yes.
The research was able to achieve 32% on ArcAGI.
Would you recommend one-time secret service for self-destructing links shaped for sensitive data?
Also achieved 2% on ArcAGI too. All this with only
depends on what you're trying to do.
And it's able to solve all those questions.
There is an app called Burn After Reading. You can host datas one time for your own stuff.
Predicting everything in
Problem is, can you trust the service?
Like if an LLM has to calculate 1 plus 1, it can only spend the same effort.
It's the precursor to Terminators.
The answer too, but it is obvious that
can I use that bot to trade crypto because I want it auto transferred to XRMR and Solana because Brave is now using that. There's nothing stopping your stuff from being agentic. You can use N8N to actually process all that. You just have to make a hot wallet with Monero and everything to do that, but it's totally possible. I haven't done it, but it's possible.
Internal latent data represents the reasoning process, which will be repeatedly refined into an output. So when a calculation requires more effort, it will be allocated accordingly. And this is achieved by using two different small transformer networks that run at different speeds. One low-level network, which would update fast, and another high-level network that would update at a lower frequency. More specifically, it works by having the fast network tweak a hidden scratch pad a little bit every micro step by using the current input and the current provisional answer. And after several fast tweaks, the slow network wakes up, reads that scratch pad, and makes a bigger strategic adjustment to steer what the fast one will do next. The slow part also consults a halting head to decide whether to keep going or stop. This alternation continues with low-level network refines details, high-level network sets directions, and checks if
what is the hardware requirement to run something like this?
For a high-level loop, the method will wait for the fast loop to settle to a stable state, then computes gradients as though it is stable, instead of backpropagating every micro step to save compute. At runtime, it still performs a small number of these fast slow cycles on the actual example.
Rather have a self-hosted bot that uses DApp connections to my wallet. You can totally do that.
These two networks work together just like the temporal separation.
No, you can run your own AI is what I'm saying through running your own LLM locally.
Our brain has a multi-timescale cortical process and hierarchical depth, hence the name hierarchical reasoning. The paper even adds a brain correspondence section that compares HRM's representational dimensionality against mouse cortex in order to justify their design choice, which I'll get to later. While this idea was well received, especially with how well it performed empirically, some researchers are still a bit dissatisfied about the ambiguity that the HRM paper has. A heavy use of heuristics were applied on quite a few things, with the biggest iffy points being like justifying this 2 timescale design with biology and perhaps drawing similarity to a mouse brain may be too big of a reach, as the similarity is not proven mechanistically nor empirically, with the main connection being simply they just look similarly organized in the latent space of the model versus a mouse brain.
Same picture.
It's a decent amount of equivocation. Another point is how the abstraction of the hierarchical element in HRM is purely heuristic based. HRM is only being interpreted to do hierarchical reasoning over latent space. It is not really being proven that it's actually doing that under the hood. So the design could have multiple levels of latent features, not just only 2.
Okay.
On top of that, HRM's training assumes the faster inner loop has reached a steady state, aka an equilibrium, and computes gradients as if it was already there. But in practice, the loop is only run a few times and usually hasn't settled, so this shortcut can misestimate the true unrolled gradient. So the assumption and explanation is kind of weak to prove that the training works in theory, well, at least consistently work. But the results did prove to work, so who cares? Well, actually, this researcher called Alexia cared a lot and wrote another paper called TRM, short for Tiny Recursion Model. Also fascinated by the idea of HRM, Alexia wanted to address these weaknesses that it has and decided to take the matter into their own hands. First of all, to justify the use of a higher and a lower frequency network, a biological analogy may not even be needed. Alexia justified in TRM's paper that you only need 2 working memories with different rules, a higher level thinking space like a scratch pad pad and a placeholder for answers. It's a clear functional separation and not a biological one. If you collapse them into one state,
So what, you basically just store that in memory and then
placeholder would
have it go back
each other, and if
like, would you even need a GPU to get this going?
More control knobs that do not really help on small data, and you make learning less stable. And this is also proven empirically in their result. So the logic of having the scratch pad updates a few times first, then applying the update to the canvas and repeating this process a few times is how TRM is able to solve ArcAGI questions. As for addressing the assumed equilibrium in HRM during training, TRM proposes that there is no such thing. It trains on the loop it actually runs. HRM pretends that if you let its fast inner loop run long enough, it will eventually settle into a stable state, and then it takes gradients as if that stable state already exists.
But how is... I'd have to play with this.
Also fits into that 2 timescale narrative, but like I said, it may...
Are there any open source models?
And TRM does not assume the loop will eventually settle. Instead, it literally runs its own update loop a small fixed number of times and then reads that output it actually produced.
I was curious if it was going to actually do like an infinite loop.
They wanted a behavior that is to polish the canvas a few times until it looks right, not to pretend it ever reaches an exact equilibrium or a stable state to learn from. So with this model setup and an even smaller model size sitting at only 7 million parameters, which is nearly 4 times smaller than HRM, it is capable of achieving a jaw-dropping 40% on ArcAGI 1 and 6.2% on ArcAGI 2. This score has beaten the likes of Gemini 2.5 Pro, O3 Pro High, and just slightly behind GPT-5 Medium, which is really crazy. And all TRM does is that it just recursively thinks and refines its answer, and once it crosses the confidence threshold, it shows you the answer. What's even cooler is that for tasks that require less context length, input complexity, or expressiveness, like solving a 9x9 Sudoku puzzle, TRM actually performed better without using attention and only using MLP. But when it gets to a maze or ArcAGI, which is a 30x30 grid, attention-based TRM performs better instead. An explanation proposed by Alexia is that this is because self-attention is much better at long context. Well, as you can see how good LLMs are now, but MLP can still perform better because it is still much more generalizable and flexible, so it actually scored higher when context length is not too overwhelming. Another fascinating empirical observation is that when they tried to scale the model up from 7 million parameters to see how the model would perform, they found that adding more layers did not help the performance and
interesting
overfitting. On the contrary, by decreasing the layers and increasing the recursive process of TRM, the model was able to perform better. So this is why they end up with a 2-layer model instead of 4 or 8 layers, as 2 layers somehow generalizes better, and the difference is quite significant. 79.5% for 4 layers versus 87.4% for 2 layers. This is completely opposite to what we observe in modern LLMs, where generalization scales proportionately with model size. A potential explanation for this is that why larger model size would overfit is because the training data is scarce. So by having a smaller model, it is much harder to overfit when the data set is small, which in this case works perfectly. And by being recursive, it solves the problem of trying to do everything in one shot. And as the recursion turns the job into a sequence of small reusable edits on a canvas, not having too many parameters is a benefit, as the model is harder to memorize the data and easier to generalize. This results in a model that can stay small enough to resist overfitting, yet still has enough iterative thinking to solve rules that a single forward pass from a small network would miss. Pretty cool, right? So yeah, I am very curious what the ceiling of recursive models can be and how we can improve from here on. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. And if you like today's video, definitely check out my newsletter where I cover the latest research papers weekly. On there, you'll always be up to date on the latest research progress. And thank you guys for watching. A big shout out to Spam Maj, Chris Ledoux, Deegan,
I'm definitely gonna have to follow that guy,
Marcelo Ferreira, Poof and Inu, DX.
So that's interesting. 27 million parameter beats a 1 trillion parameter LLM with ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is eating up all this, hardware in data centers because they think they need to throw more hardware at things. But maybe that is not the solution. And OpenAI may be screwed. I think they are screwed in general because they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on renting data centers, and they're, I think, $104 billion in deficit in terms of revenue. But to give you an idea, when it's saying just 7 million parameters, we may not even need a GPU to run that. Like a Raspberry Pi, I think is like you can run a 300 million parameter LLM on it. Fine. So that's fascinating. That is really fascinating. All right, let's get to the next video. Arrested for using the cloud.
Michigan may be outlawing cloud computing. Let's talk about that.
First of all, fuck Michigan! Okay, sorry.
Welcome to the Cloud Computing Insider. I'm Dave. Let's get going. So, many of you know what a VPN is, a virtual private network. It's able to create an encrypted tunnel between your device and a remote server, which is able to hide your traffic from local networks, ISPs, and many forms of surveillance out there. And people use VPNs for different reasons. Chances are, if you're working remotely for a company, they may require you to use a VPN because obviously they want their traffic, their business traffic, secure.
Oh God, I'm probably going to get hit with a QR code for the
HIPAA or producing PII information. You're a doctor operating remotely, something like that, not operating on a person, but actually working, out of your house.
We're just going to cover that up for a sec.
You to use a VPN. So the technology's,
because TikTok flags QR codes. I'm sorry.
Also,
not trying to be a prick.
In many instances, we're leveraging cloud computing. In fact, most people who leverage public cloud platforms and do so remotely, even if they're using it inside the company, may still require a virtual private network be put in place to encrypt the data between the person using the cloud services, whatever storage, compute, databases, things like that, and the remote public cloud platform. And so it's commonplace. So the state of
it's pretty commonplace to use a VPN, yes, but a lot of that paradigm is shifting because more businesses are starting to go to zero trust network access. We'll be talking about that in the near future as I set up TwinGate inside of my home lab, but there's many companies using Palo Alto. I think Cisco has a ZTNA product. Zscaler is one of the most predominant ones. JumpCloud has a product offering for it. But yeah, even then, that still is more or less VPN-esque because you still need a proc. It's more like, ZTNA is more like a proxy, but not in the traditional sense of what you think of a proxy. But yeah, VPNs are still a required part of a lot of jobs, and even site-to-site VPNs are still there because if you're linking different physical locations together to, access company resources across different ISPs, short of actually making a direct connect between buildings or a direct Wi-Fi, wireless signal, not Wi-Fi, but direct wireless, point to point, there's not much else you can do. So this is why I'm getting really upset with politicians. Because they really don't understand the world of technology that we live in and we exist and need to operate on. And they keep going let's just ban VPNs because, that. And I'm like, that's not a solution. And most people think of VPN as, you buy this one product and then it, tunnels it. And I'm like, no, that's actually not what most people use a VPN for. Believe it or not, most people using a VPN are using it to access company resources through a company-hosted VPN. But let's go on.
Is now part of a broader push by some U.S. lawmakers to effectively ban or heavily restrict the use of VPNs or virtual private networks as part of age verification.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, too.
This with a bill that's going through the state Senate right now, including proposals that would require ISPs and
it's Michigan, so
VPN
not surprised, because Michigan sucks.
This is a bit concerning. I understand why they're doing it. They're concerned about, online adult content getting into the wrong hands and things like that, trying to protect kids. Happy to, join you in that march. However, this is going to have one of those outcomes where no one saw it coming. And the fact of the matter is, if we're going to ban VPNs, or we're going to monitor people who are using VPNs, that obviously we're going to restrict the use of people working at home, remote systems, and in many cases, the use of cloud computing. And so if this bill goes through and VPNs are going to be banned in the state, then in many instances, so are the use of cloud computing, because people won't use them unless they're going to be leveraged through a VPN, if it's a remote work situation, things like that. So obviously,
Yeah,
it's a typical
I know in my
government-
cloud lab I'd be setting up a
government
VPN or
moving forward
at the very
with,
least
you know, some
ZTNA.
laws and regulations without understanding the
At least
consequences
VPN.
or the unintended
I prefer
consequences of
ZTNA.
doing that. So on paper, these bills are marketed as child protection measures, but in practice, they collide head-on with how modern IT and cloud computing actually works, because VPNs are not a niche tool used only to hide adult content. They are by default a way that businesses, schools, hospitals, banks, and governments securely connect people to cloud services. And so when I saw this, I was wondering, does someone ask or present to the lawmakers that this is likely going to be the outcome? So
The problem is lawmakers are lawyers that don't know
I
shit.
think the unintended consequences are going to be far-reaching. So if Michigan forces sites or networks to block VPN connections, it isn't just attacking privacy, it's attacking the basic plumbing that keeps remote work, distributed offices, and cloud hosting infrastructure secure and compliant, putting the state on a collision course with its own economy and critical services. In other words, if you're banning VPNs, you're going to functionally ban most of the cloud computing work that's done in the state. And so obviously, companies are going to figure out a way around
Right.
that. Probably, I guess, maybe sue the state over it around the law. But if you're just pushing businesses outside of the state, so they'll just go across the state to work and operate. If you're not allowing them to leverage
Sorry, you're in
technology,
Michigan. We can't let you work here anymore.
so the overwhelming majority of serious cloud deployments, corporate WANs, remote offices, hybrid data centers, and work from home setups depend on VPN tunnels or VPN-like encrypted links, things that are out there. We get VPN advertisements all the time. There's a bunch of them. If you're on YouTube, I think every other ad is going to be for a VPN system that are there, and they're there to protect data in transit between users and cloud services, so they do serve a purpose. So because the site generally can't know whether a VPN connection originates in Michigan or Madrid for that matter, the legal risk is around moving for many platforms that would be to block all VPN users globally or withdraw services from Michigan entirely, chilling access to cloud tools and collaboration platforms. So the outcome of this is going to be, number one, I don't think it's a law.
It's going to get held up in court if it passes, and I don't think it's going to pass at all.
It's interesting to kind of read the law because they do say they're blocking VPNs. And there's no ifs, hows, or how they're doing it. And obviously, you're going to have the outcome of doing that.
This law was probably written by some boomer that was like told about VPNs and is like, we gotta ban this! We gotta ban this, VPN, way to connect privately over this series of internet tubes. It's probably what happened.
Including,
some Colonel Sanders looking dude
services were leveraged remotely,
getting told about VPNs.
So I suspect it won't go through as a law. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer and not a politician and don't like politics at all.
Neither am I. I don't like politics either.
Affects the tech world, and this is kind of chilling in the fact if they did get it through, that would limit the use of technology in the state.
And it would limit their economy and capabilities, especially for people for work from home.
Organizations in Michigan, from small firms using Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace to enterprises that are leveraging AWS, Azure, and private cloud providers, and typically virtual private cloud networks as well. Any broad VPN restriction would create an impossible compliance bind between state laws on one side and the federal security, privacy, and industry standards on the other. So it's interesting that this is even proposed. And obviously I'm seeing other influencers out on YouTube that are talking about it, but they're talking about it in terms of, just the general purpose use of computing. And there's not a lot of people that are linking it to cloud computing. Well, it would interfere with that. And obviously there's a direct interference with the cloud computing technology. Now, obviously people will put out and catch me in the comments, you can use
I'll show you what Vampire linked me in a sec.
And not use a VPN. However, in many cases, many of the clients that I have that are leveraging very secure networks, they don't allow that because, again, they want to have their business data, in many cases, data that they have to worry about compliance issues with, such as PII, personally identifiable information, has to be encrypted, and there's no other way to do it.
GDPR,
So Michigan lawmakers are effectively criminalizing
FedRAMP,
undermining the same encryption practices that protect
I think even
trade secrets, financial
CMMC,
transactions, student records, medical data, and critical infrastructure management that work every single day. And so in doing that, that's not going to lead to a good conclusion for Michigan. So if Michigan
Michigan was never a good beginning to start with.
Or VPN blocking mandates. In other words, I guess they put the ISPs in charge of detecting VPNs and then reporting you to the cops. If you do that, I'm not sure how it's going to be enforced. It sets a precedent for broader attacks on encryption channels in general, pushing businesses to move operations, data centers, and jobs out of the state to avoid legal and technical uncertainty around, basic, cloud connectivity. And the government never really understands this when they make something.
No, because you got a bunch of boomers that don't understand shit.
Out of the state. Now,
this is why we need to have term and age limits.
It's difficult to move businesses outside an entire country, but definitely they'll move a state, and businesses can shift headquarters and shift offices fairly easy these days. And obviously, many people are working remotely, so it's a matter of putting different technical infrastructure around and how you're going to use this with this law in place if it does pass. So it's unintended consequences, but it's also not necessarily having foresight in the way that businesses are going to respond to this. So they're not going to allow this to happen. They're going to sue them in court and, lobby for the...
Yeah, I doubt it's going to actually happen.
If it passes. But at the end of the day, if you don't give them that option, they'll just leave. And so your tax base won't be leaving the state because you guys are making the use of a core tool that we need to run a business, in this case, cloud computing, illegal. And people aren't going to have that. So if Michigan lawmakers choose to wage war on VPNs, and for a good cause, by the way.
I think also Wisconsin was another state that was actually waging wars on VPN.
Catch up as to what this means. They're not just picking a fight with privacy advocates. They're picking a fight with mathematics, with the internet's architecture, and with Michigan's own digital economy. So again, it's just proposed. It's not going to be a law, and I don't suspect it's going to pass.
I don't think it's going to pass either.
That this is even being considered. In other words, someone wrote this on a piece of paper, and you can go out and look at the.
Yeah, there was a person that actually thought this with all their brain power that this was a good idea.
But at the end of the day, it's the thing is that it's such scary that someone even proposed this, and it's out there that something that people are considering this, but. Anyway, you let me know. Let me know down in the comments as to whether I'm off base or not, or if they're making too big a deal out of this, or if there's some...
It's a little bit long-winded, but I mean, yeah, basically that's the point of, and I've talked about that as well. Also, what I was shown in the middle of the stream, just so you can see, was this thing that Vampire shared with me. This is a software-defined radio that can fit in an M.2 slot. That's really neat. $300 and some odd. I mean, it's a little bit expensive. You just plug your antennas in on these little dots here. They got a little video here, but let's see what it does. Probably gonna have to edit that audio out in the middle of YouTube.
USDR. A tiny M2 single component, SDR, controlled from a web browser. Have you ever used software-defined radio? Well, you may know that simply getting started often requires significant amount of work, including...
Okay, so for those of you not aware what software-defined radio is, basically you can have this piece of hardware and you can program it to use a wide range of frequencies. So you could use it to be an FM radio, you could dial it into 1090 megahertz, which would actually let you read the transponders off of planes, or 978 megahertz for UAT, 1090 is ADS-B. You could even, get into the low frequencies if your antenna's tuned and stuff well enough that you could start listening into shortwave radio, HF radio, and, start getting into the ham and all that other stuff. Of course, do not transmit outside of approved spectrums. But you can even use it for in the ISM band, 902 to 928 megahertz, license free, up to 1 watt, if I recall correctly. So yeah, there's a lot of capabilities that you can do with it. And software-defined radio is something I always recommend people to first start messing around with when they're doing radio. Now, of course, this is on the higher end of the spectrum in terms of cost for an SDR. A lot of SDRs can be picked up for about 20, 30, 40 bucks with an antenna kit and everything. The New Elec, November, Oscar, Echo, Lima, Echo, Charlie, is one of the ones that I recommend very often.
Installation, configuration, and ensuring compatibility with the required software support libraries and drivers for your operating system. Given the numerous software versions available out there, this process can be challenging and discouraging. However, modern web browsers are powerful enough to deal with all these problems on your device. Thanks to WebUSB technology, you can seamlessly communicate with your hardware directly within the web browser. We have developed a range of applications such as a spectrum monitor, signal analyzer, and various visual tools designed to...
Ooh, pretty.
And there are no limits. Since we've been using WebAssembly, you can incorporate your own C++ code to the platform and build your own applications.
Nice.
Good software requires good hardware, so we specifically designed a one-side board to prioritize seamless integration into your project, addressing any concerns related to heat dissipation in space. Our vision was to create versatile modular hardware for any type of devices like laptops.
Hold up, what's that frequency range?
Our vision was to create versatile
300 to 3700 megahertz. So is it 300 megahertz? Because if so, that's kind of on the high end. Or is it 300 kilohertz? Because then that'd be really nice. Because you can do a lot with that. Because 300 starts even above some of my ham radio stuff at 144. Let me just poke down here. Yep, it starts at 300 megahertz. Oof. Okay, that's neat, though. But that is an oof from me.
Devices like laptop, single-board computers, and even tablets. That's why we developed a number of adapters allowing you to use this board in Mini PCI Express, M2B, and M2M configurations, or simply as a USB dongle. It took us 3 hardware revisions to get the design right, and it is an open-source software project, so we are actively working towards FPGA support through an open-source toolchain that will help us to build trusted wireless
programmable gate array. Nice.
Currently lacking today. The USDR web platform makes software-defined radio accessible to everyone, providing an easy starting point for learning and prototyping. We are proudly announcing features like device data sharing that enables collaboration in any aspect. Share data, stream worldwide, combine sources around the world, and do the processing of geo-distributed signals in one place using our cloud. Run a complete cellular network without any hassle. The base station processing is done in the browser, while the core network operates in the cloud. Scale.
Okay, that is neat.
Compatibility or coverage. Do your security research. Bring new life to your old hardware. Build portable spectrum analyzers, IoT controllers, base stations, and other cool stuff with old phones, tablets, and laptops. We're happy.
That an old Sony Vaio?
While we set a minimum target to successfully deliver USDR, we also want to have more applications in the web, get more supported protocols, and build a strong community around it. That's why we've added stretch goals to make it happen. And last but not least, if you're not interested in the web, you can always use USDR as a regular SDR like it used to be before.
Oh, that part's really nice. So, it seems like an interesting concept. I want to see what their updates are from this. A new era for USDR. Okay. What's new? Browser-based, pre-built SDR, getting started. So, the one thing that I like the idea. I like the form factor. The issue that I have is 300 megahertz is so damn high. You may not understand why that is such a big deal, but like, I usually use my ham radio, in like the, what is it, the 2 meter band? Yeah, 2 meter, I think it is. And 2 meter is, hold on. I am too tired to do this math in my head. Yeah, 144 to 148 megahertz. So I couldn't even use that for a lot of the local ham talks and stuff I do with my transceiver over here. Let alone some of the really cool stuff that you can do with HF. Because HF, which is it's high frequency, but it's really not that high. 2 meter, like I was just saying, 144 megahertz. That's that's VHF. But HF, you can literally use to talk around the world with very low power. We've talked about in the past, there's this thing called a radio berry, I think it is, where you can use a Raspberry Pi, and with a few watts of an amplifier, you can contact people several states over on HF. So I like this concept. Do not get me wrong. I just wish it had a lower frequency range. Like, I'd be happy if it could go down to 300 kilohertz. Because it's software-defined radio, so there's really no reason why, unless you're limited by the hardware, of course, you can tune it to any frequency you want. Now, of course, they have a higher-end frequency than some of the other SDRs I use, so that is a nice thing. But I'd like to see a companion version to drop down. Now, you can probably use, like, the ham it up and stuff like that to drop that signal down a little bit more, but yeah. Still need to look at. Alright. Next video! Alright, we're going to be talking about whiskey. The $863 million whiskey scam. How Fireball fooled the world. I should have drank Fireball for the stream. Alright.
How did a fake whiskey fool millions and become one of the most popular liquor brands in America? Because what people have been drinking isn't whiskey, it just looks like it is. Fireball Cinnamon sells in over 170,000 stores, and not one of those little red bottles contains a single drop of real whiskey. In just 5 years, these
well, isn't that why it says liquor?
$7 million, fought lawsuits, and became one of the top 50 beer brands in America.
Wait, what lawsuits do they have?
A simple loophole anyone could have spotted. But to understand how Fireball pulled off one of the most successful whiskey scams in American history, we need to start at the beginning, because before the tiny bottle scam, there was a much bigger one. The year is 2007. Flavored spirits are exploding, college parties are raging, and on the bottom shelf of every liquor store sits a forgotten failure, Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball Whiskey. Too sweet for whiskey drinkers, too boring for college kids, a schnapps pretending to be a whiskey shooter dying a slow death. But inside
I think I vaguely remember that.
An executive sees what everyone else missed. The schnapps market for young adults is crowded, but the whiskey market is wide open. So they ask themselves one simple question. What if we created a whiskey designed for parties, not whiskey drinkers? But there were 3 problems standing in their way.
Okay.
Problem number 1. The name Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball Whiskey was about as catchy as reading a prescription bottle. Problem number 2. Real whiskey.
Yeah, even Dr. Pepper's shorter.
Shots that went down like candy. And finally, problem number 3. Real whiskey takes years to age and costs a fortune to make. Time and money Sazerac didn't have. However, what happens next reveals just how far one company was willing to go to bend the rules.
Alright.
First, they killed the old name. Out went Dr. McGillicuddy's, and in came one explosive word, Fireball.
Oh, really?
Modern, memorable, a name that screamed party instead of medicine.
Did not know that was the root.
Second, they kept the sugary schnapps formula. Smooth, sweet, and dangerously easy to drink. One Reddit user put it perfectly. It tastes like drinking apple pie. But here's where the real trickery begins. They needed to call it whiskey, but there was a massive legal problem. To be real whiskey in America, you need 2 things. At least 40% alcohol.
And it has to be
2 years in
I thought there was a corn requirement too. No, maybe wrong.
Marketed as
What's up, Dev? How's it going, bud?
It contained just 33% alcohol and had no aging to speak of. But then they found a loophole.
Wait,
If you
whiskey
slap
requires
flavored whiskey on the
40%?
label and add a trace amount of real whiskey, you don't need to distill, age, or do any of the hard work. You can skip the
Ew.
process entirely. So that's exactly what they did. They bought cheap pre-made Canadian whiskey from a distributor bitter and blended just enough into their candy schnapps to technically qualify as
Too long already. I'm gonna try to go back to it. Go back to bed, bud.
Fireball 33%, but because it's flavored, it scrapes by legally. However, in places like Europe and Japan, they can't sell it as whiskey because it doesn't meet the alcohol or aging requirements. But in America, totally legal. In one move, Sazerac had solved all of their problems.
American regulatory loopholes, gotta love it.
Could legally call itself flavored whiskey. But making fake whiskey was only the beginning. Now they had to sell it. And that's when they unleashed one of the most brilliant marketing strategies in spirits history. Marketing lesson number 1. Authentic word of mouth is the most powerful form of advertising.
My favorite Alcoholic Anonymous group.
By relations, stories, and magic. Seth Godin in his book Lynchpin in 2010. 2007, Richard Holmes, a brand ambassador, walks into a Nashville bar with a simple mission. Make Fireball the most talked about shot in America. Not with TV commercials, not with celebrity endorsements, but with free shots. His strategy was genius in its simplicity. Walk into a bar, buy shots for strangers, post it on social media. Move to the next bar and repeat it every single night.
I mean, it worked.
Didn't position itself as a premium whiskey, it positioned itself as the shot everyone was doing. The drink that turned strangers into friends, the drink that made nights legendary. But here's what made this strategy absolutely lethal for competitors. Bars loved it too. Marketing lesson number 2. Make your distributors your best salesmen. Every customer interaction is a marketing opportunity. If you go above and beyond on the customer service side, people are much more likely to recommend you. Stuart Butterfield, co-founder of Slack and Flickr. Here's an interesting stat. Liquor shots have a profit markup of 400 to 500%.
Oh,
the
damn!
highest of any drink type. A single Fireball shot costs a bar about 60 cents to pour, and they sell it for $5 to $7 a shot. That's roughly a 900% markup, all from one quick pour. So when a Fireball ambassador walked in buying rounds of shots, bartenders paid attention. Within just 2 years, from 2011 to 2013, Fireball went from $1.9 million in retail sales to $61 million, a 3,100% increase. The brand that was once dying on shelves was now outselling Jameson and Patron, all from a strategy that started with one guy buying shots in Nashville bars. But buying bar shots was just phase 1. Sazerac knew something critical. If they wanted to dominate, they needed to be everywhere young people gathered. So
right.
Marketing lesson number 3, depth is far more powerful than width. The essence of marketing is narrowing the focus. You become stronger when
you just can't do a keg flip and hope for the best?
Al Rees from his book Focus in 1996. Fireball doubled down on what they were already doing. No promotional gear, no corporate pitches, just regular people handing out free Fireball. They showed up at college tailgates, country music festivals, hockey arenas, anywhere crowds gathered, Fireball was there. And unlike other brands spending millions on TV
that explains why it felt like it came out of everywhere.
Nothing on traditional marketing. While competitors poured money into Super Bowl commercials, Fireball invested in grassroots.
I've never really cared for Fireball that much, though.
Marketing agency Zender deployed just a handful of ambassadors to key markets. Within 3 years, that team grew to nearly 25 ambassadors across more than 20 states. They didn't look like marketers, they looked
Although
like
I haven't had it in a few years.
At bars, buying
Maybe I
drinks,
should have it.
posting on Instagram, creating organic buzz. And the strategy paid off. By 2014, when you factor in bars, Fireball hit $863.5 million in total sales. It became the 7th most popular liquor brand in America. But just as Fireball was reaching its peak, something went very, very wrong. 2014, Fireball gets pulled from shelves across Europe. The reason? Propylene glycol. The same chemical is used in antifreeze. But before you panic, propylene glycol is FDA approved and actually appears in tons of foods. But here's the thing, Europe has stricter limits.
Yeah,
and Fireball
it's also in like vape stuff.
Marketing lesson number 4,
PG.
Crisis creates opportunity. This defines entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur always searches for change, responds to it, and exploits it as an opportunity.
What was the reason it got pulled?
So what did Sazerac do? Freak out, issue apologies, recall everything? Nope. In just 3 weeks, they reformulated the entire European recipe, lowered the propylene glycol, and kept selling. Crisis averted, profit secured. But here's what the scandal revealed. Fireball had always been willing to operate in the gray areas of regulation. The antifreeze scandal should have destroyed Fireball, instead it made the brand even more famous. Everyone was talking about Fireball, news outlets, social media, and in the liquor industry.
Oh yeah, that's the reason why I didn't drink
By
it.
the end of 2015,
I forgot.
It had overtaken Jägermeister in popularity and had also become the top-selling flavored whiskey in the entirety of the United States.
I never really
The
cared for
scandal didn't
Jaeger
kill
either.
them, it amplified them.
But that is like
They were
a
about to do it
whole of a
again,
strong
but this
taste.
time on an even bigger scale. 2016. Fireball is dominating liquor stores, but Sazerac sees an opportunity worth hundreds of millions of dollars. What if they could sell Fireball everywhere? Not just liquor stores, gas stations, grocery stores, and convenience stores. 170,000 new locations. There was just one problem. Real whiskey can't legally be sold in those stores. State law prohibits it. Sazerac didn't see a problem. They saw another loophole. Marketing lesson number 5. People don't buy what you make. They buy what they think you make. Things do not pass for what they are, but for what they seem. Most things are judged by their jackets. Balthasar Gracian, Spanish philosopher. So Fireball created a second version of its product. This one contained only 16.5% alcohol and legally classified as a malt beverage. This meant it could be sold in gas stations and convenience stores where hard liquor isn't allowed.
Hey, I'm gonna go get some gas and then a few of these malt liquors over here. I never understood that.
Despite clearly not being whiskey, Sazerac chose to package it with the same name, same logo, and same bottle design. One was cinnamon whiskey, the other was a cinnamon-flavored malt beverage designed to feel like whiskey. The difference? A single word. The big bottle says cinnamon whiskey, the tiny bottle says cinnamon, and if you squint at the fine print, it says malt beverage with natural whiskey or other flavors, not whiskey, whiskey flavors. And here's the real genius. Most consumers don't read labels, they glance at them. Packaging experts say that in a physical store, shoppers take just 3 to 5 seconds to notice a product and decide whether or not to purchase.
Am I one of the rare people that actually reads the label?
3 seconds simply wasn't enough to tell the difference. The result? Fireball's mini bottles flooded 170,000 stores across America, and the public, most had no idea they weren't drinking whiskey. In fact, those tiny bottles became so successful that Fireball was ranked as a top 50 beer brand in America. Yes, beer, not whiskey, because legally, that's what it was.
Wait,
the
what?
reception was perfect and very profitable. Over the next 5 years, those tiny bottles brought in an estimated $70 million. Between the whiskey version and the malt beverage version, Fireball was everywhere. Bars, liquor stores, grocery stores, you couldn't escape it, and that was the point. But eventually, someone noticed. February 2023. A New York woman named Sharon Pizarro files a class action lawsuit against Sazerac. Her claim? Fraud. She bought what she thought was whiskey at a gas station. What she got was beer with whiskey flavoring. The lawsuit claims Sazerac deliberately designed the tiny bottles to look almost identical to the big ones to trick consumers. The only difference was the one word on the label. In Sazerac's defense, we followed all the FDA labeling requirements, which was technically true.
I mean, yeah.
But the lawsuit raised a harder question. Just because something is legal, does that make it right? The case argued that
I've been saying that for years.
Federal labeling requirements for
not all laws are right, and not everything that's right is, you know,
protections across multiple states.
Illegal.
As of today, the products are still selling, the lawsuit is still ongoing, and Fireball hasn't changed a thing. And here's the final lesson Fireball teaches us. Fireball didn't sell whiskey, they sold the feeling of whiskey. The fire, the rebellion, the illusion, a bottle built on branding, not barrels. And it worked. From $1.9 million in 2011 to $863.5 million in 2014, a 45,000% increase in just 3 years.
That's a lot of money.
They change what was inside the bottle. They changed.
Now we're gonna go moonshining, chat.
Because in marketing, reality doesn't matter, perception does. Now, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and if you want to understand marketing on a deeper level, check out our free guide in the link down.
That's interesting. The $100 million vodka scam, huh? Crystal Head? I'm gonna have to check that out later. I'll follow them. See that. Alright. Alright, we got an article over here. TLS 1.3 includes welcome improvements, but still allows long-lived secrets. Okay, so this is... Okay, so you can still have long-lived secrets with this. Okay. That's about TLS 1.3. The reason that zero RTT data may not have forward secrecy is rather subtle. Okay, so it seems like TLS 1.3 doesn't still solve all the other classic problems we had. This sort of experiment, I went to ChatGPT to see if I can learn further. While I can't say that I found nothing wrong with the answers it gave me, I didn't find the level of insight the discussion among the RFC contributors gave me. Well, yeah, it's ChatGPT. It's interesting, you know, like, that we're actually now saying, yeah, I went to, like, an LLM, and it didn't give me enough information. Yeah, there's certain things LLMs still suck at, like new information. But, yeah. Let's go to TikTok, see what this is. Driver's license bill. 40 senators want to scan your ID to use the internet. Hold on. Is this Alex Perlman? I guess it is. Yeah.
Upload your driver's license before you can use your First Amendment on the internet. That's what they want. That's what this bill is. This bill is designed to make sure that they have your home address before you can actually post about anything on the internet. The bill is Senate Bill 1409. 40 senators have sponsored it, Republicans and Democrats. This isn't a left or right issue. This is a speech issue. And they call the bill the Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA for short. But
oh, here we go again. Fucking KOSA. We've been talking about this shit for years. Goddamn freaking government. Final lesson, bottom stuff. I prefer Fernet Branca with Coca-Cola. But yeah, goddamn KOSA. We've talked about this. I've made YouTube videos talking about this. I don't agree with any government censorship law with this stuff. Look, I definitely don't want CSAM content to be out there. That goes without saying. If there is true CSAM, go after those people. Take it down. You're not going to hear any arguments from me. But if your whole argument is to protect kids, we must require ID or prove that you're an adult. No! I ain't gonna prove crap. I haven't seen that guy in a while because my old phone broke. New phone can't run TikTok. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while either. He's apparently doing some podcasts with Philip DeFranco. I haven't seen that. I don't watch TikTok all that much either, so I haven't seen him in a while. I just know who he is because he's popular enough. All right. This is from TechLore. 25 states now require ID online. It's already backfiring.
Literally half of the United States has already implemented age verification laws. That means 25 states, and that's not a prediction. That has already happened. With the newest state to join being Missouri, who's following a similar...
It's Missouri. Nothing of value was lost.
...pattern where if a third
I'm sorry.
Or platform's content is deemed, however they deem, harmful to minors, then they need to use age verification tools like digital IDs, government-issued IDs, or transactional data. These laws are so invasive that big tech companies like Apple and Google, trillion-dollar corporations, are actively fighting this because they think it goes too far. Think about that. The companies that usually don't care that much about privacy are saying, no, this one's a little too dystopian for us. And the dark part is that this is spreading globally. Australia is implementing this in December. The UK has already passed it, and it's already a thing there. And there's serious talk about making this federal in the US. I want to start by outlining the problems because no one is against keeping children safe. That's not the problem.
I was just saying that. I'm not against keeping kids safe.
Problems with these kind of things that aren't at all being properly discussed. The first is that there is a serious privacy concern here. Your government ID is potentially being stored on servers run by companies with zero legal accountability.
We've talked about this also before with the T app. Remember the T app got breached? That was supposed to be an app where women had a safe space to discuss, toxic, men that they found in the dating world. But the company themselves was not storing their data properly. And the S3 bucket was wide open. They weren't compromised. They literally left the door open. And all people had to do was find the right download link. And thousands of women had their IDs published. They were doxxed. Somebody even made a map of all the locations of where they're at. Like, that's how bad this was. There was also the app that some Charlie Kirk supporters made to go after people that were, gleeful about Charlie, passing. And that app had their information leaked. And a bunch of people were also doxxed and leaked and all that. What's the solution? Unfortunately, there is no perfect solution because we do not live in a perfect world, but the reality is you should not penalize adults because we think that it's going to protect children. It doesn't protect children. It doesn't at all. We've talked about in a prior stream, like Roblox. Roblox is an actual issue for child safety. There is also an issue on Discord. There's a lot of CSAM that is actually sold openly on Discord channels. We watched a whole video where literally it was like so disturbing, I had to stop halfway through and tell chat, sorry, I can't do this anymore because of just all what we were learning. Like, it was a little bit too open. It was just, you know, it shocked me. I use Discord. I never knew it was that bad of a problem. But it really is. So Discord needs to moderate better. Roblox needs to moderate better. Hell, Roblox banned Schlepp, who was a victim himself, turned into someone who is assisting law enforcement find these predators. There is no perfect solution, but sometimes the solution is worse than the problem. And that's what I've been saying for years for a lot of these things. There is no perfect solution. Because even then, it requires parents to monitor their children's activity. But the problem is, parents have an obligation to go to their jobs and pay for the bills that, you know, and put the food on the table and everything. And because everything's so expensive, we have a lot of families that both parents are having to work. So the children are not monitored and they're basically being raised by the internet. There is no perfect solution here. But even in a case of where you do have, you know, the very, you know, fortunate situation that a parent is able to stay home all the time, that parent can't monitor everything because things change so much. I was fortunate enough that I had a very involved mother, and she couldn't even understand a lot of the things, even though she was trying to keep up with it. So the best you can actually do, and this is where I think my parents did a great job, was they educated me on the evils of the world. I distinctly remember I was on AOL Instant Messenger. Yes, I aged myself right there, but I was on AOL Instant Messenger. Some random person tried talking to me, and it was kind of weird. I immediately ran for my dad. I was like 9 or 10 years old. I remember this. It was on a Windows 95 or 98 computer or whatever. It was like I remember the beige box compact machine with the big CRT monitor like that. I grabbed my dad, told him what was happening. He hopped on the computer, did his thing, then called authorities and, you know, gave over information. I don't know what happened after that. I was a little kid. It's kind of a blur, but I remember that. But my parents taught me well enough to know to recognize the signs. But then you also have the problem, and this is the other thing that's not being acknowledged, is that a lot of people think that the predators are, you know, the ones just like tricking the kids and all that. They are. Not getting wrong there. We have unfortunately created a problem where there are kids that are openly sending their own CSAM and even selling their own CSAM. We talked about this in a prior stream where there was a video where they went into this, and that's where I was like dropping my jaw over, God, I can't speak, over just how prevalent this was of an issue. And I knew things were bad, but this is one of those things like ignorance is bliss. And I'm a person that has gone to the dark parts of the internet. But as I've also said, the surface net, the clear net, is far more scary in many ways than the dark net is. Everyone thinks the dark net is where the worst things happen. No, the worst things are apparently happening, you know, on Discord and other places that are openly accessible for kids. The reality is we need to police the areas better where kids actually are than have kids have to force that they're online, you know, like try to recognize, hey, or like have kids like have to give an ID or anything. All that does is penalize adults, because now you have an added problem here when you're restricting kids. There's a lot of LGBTQ youth. I don't care what your political views are. This isn't that point. But there are a lot out there that need to find support systems. There are friends of mine that had they not had support systems would not be around today. You know what I mean by that. There are also many lives that we know have been lost because they didn't have support systems. Sometimes that only support system, when you're in a religiously devout family that believes in like gay conversion therapy and stuff like that, is online support groups. That is the reality. So you, in essence, are, while trying to protect kids, can actually be endangering kids. There is no one-size-fits-all situation when it comes to protecting kids on the internet. It's a multifaceted approach of, yes, we need government to be more involved and drop the hammer on Roblox dropping the ball and Discord dropping the ball and, other places where kids happen to congregate. That is true. But we also need parents to step up. And unfortunately, like I said, not every parent has the resources to be able to do that, because right now the middle class is being squeezed for every single penny we have, that we no longer have the luxury of the middle class having a one-parent earning household. Both parents have to earn. And that's if you have two parents at all. Let's not forget single parents, single mothers, single fathers in various situations that are trying to do whatever they can to make ends meet. And that's another point. You're right. It's not about protecting the kids. It's about control. Because the worst things in history have been able to proliferate under the guise of, let's protect the children. Look, I hate to pull a Godwin's law here. If you don't know what that is, it's a logical fallacy that eventually you will start talking about the funny mustache man aficionados. You know exactly what I'm talking about. For the TikTok, is that's censored over there. But there were many laws passed in the Third Reich that were done under the guise of protecting the children that were really there to restrict the rights of many other people to then oppress minorities. It's about control. And that's how a lot of these things work. Like, let's think about it this way. You have a lot of politicians that don't like that people can criticize them anonymously. You're already seeing, like, Donald Trump has tried to go after his political enemies, even though they have done nothing wrong except disagree with him and have a different perspective. We've seen the lawsuits falling apart. There was was it James Comey, and then also his daughter that's a prosecutor. There was that situation. I don't care what your political view is, but that was completely off base. And that's the problem. That's what these politicians really want. And then, of course, let's look at the UK Online Safety Act. The UK Online Safety Act has everyone, inspect all of your, messages and everything. But the politicians aren't required to do that. No, we can't interfere with politicians' messages and, their privacy. God forbid. But yeah.
Is even if you trust whoever you're giving your ID to, there's no guarantee it's being kept safe. The Discord breach is a great example of this. They were complying with the UK's age verification laws.
Yep, that too. Forgot about that one.
To collect IDs, and this was leaked by a third-party vendor, and now all of those are out, so anybody can view them. This is a massive data breach with serious problems affecting people's government ID photos, their names, Discord usernames, email addresses, contact details, billing information, and even customer support messages. So this is some serious stuff.
And this is what I mean by the problem. The solution sometimes is worse than the problem.
Would completely eliminate any sense of anonymity for sensitive searches. So if you ever need to do anything that requires any layer of privacy or anonymity,
like we talked about with the LGBTQ thing,
to do that. And the EFF has their reasons why. They say this scheme would lead us further towards an internet where our private data is collected and sold by default. The tens of millions of Americans who do not have government-issued identification may lose access to much of the internet, and anonymous access to the web could cease to exist. And I don't really want to see what that looks like.
The Eye of
The
Sauron.
issue with these laws is that apps can get blocked from entire states because now that we are KYCing app stores, and this is now some kind of precedent that states have the ability to control what apps you can get from an app store, which is what Texas has directly proposed. That is not an exaggeration.
The Texas law is like jank.
KYCing yourself and handing over some way to verify your age and identity to the app store, in this case Apple and Google, before you can download even something as simple as a weather app. And that's pretty easy to extend to just outright banning an app at a certain point. And I think arguably the most ridiculous problem of all, problem 5, it's not even proven this crap works. Like, that's the craziest thing about this. When they propose these regulations, they're not proposed because there's actual real evidence of this working or examples of which this has been successful.
No, it's written by people that have no understanding of this. This is run by ignorant people about technology.
Following the UK's rollout, there was a significant rise in VPN traffic. When Pornhub blocked certain US states after they passed age verification laws, users turned to smaller, unregulated sites that lack safety measures, which undermines the initial goal of even protecting children in the first place.
And yeah, and by the way, I am affiliated with Proton, so if you do need a VPN, go check my links. Hey, little kid, you need a VPN? Go check my links. Sorry.
We've already seen upticks in VPN usage because people just don't want to deal with this stuff, and they're going to access the websites anyway. And so we have all these problems that come along with these potential tiny benefits that aren't even proven to be real. It's crazy. So you can see on screen all the laws that have taken effect in different states, as well as the timelines. And there's a good map here as well if you guys want to check that out, and you can just hover over it. Of course, all of this is down in the description. The scary thing to me is this neutral source on Ondato has commented on this, and I said this in my surveillance support episode, that dozens of different state requirements means that there's growing pressure for a federal standard in the US that would balance child protection and privacy. Until such a standard exists.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Courts will have to evaluate these on a case-by-case basis. And I actually think this is way too neutral, because what we've seen is there is zero discussion about the privacy implications of this stuff. These states are rolling out the most hardcore version of this. Again, we see Texas literally KYC the App Store for you to download a weather app. That is as extreme as it gets, and that is Orwellian as these things can possibly get, and there is very little privacy pushback. In fact, it's mostly the big tech companies fighting it. So frankly, I don't know where this idea comes from that there should be a federal standard in the US that would somehow magically now start balancing privacy. I want to remind everyone that the US has never had any real federal privacy regulation.
Yeah, we never have really had privacy regulation. I've talked about this many times.
So like California, and that's kind of all we have.
There is no right to privacy in the USA. That's a myth.
Of privacy regulation for something that's inherently anti-privacy. And I really want to point to the Supreme Court decision earlier this year in 2025 in the US that actually upheld Texas's law requiring adult websites to verify users' ages before allowing access. Not only did the Supreme Court side with Texas, but they actually sided with them in a very fundamental way that would make it so that anyone else can roll this out due to this precedent. The main reason for that is that it actually extends, the implications extend far beyond adult websites, reshaping how courts evaluate the dozens of state laws designed to protect children.
Goddamn Trump and your damn Supreme Court. You fucked up a lot of shit. I did not realize that. But yeah.
Online that have repeatedly been blocked by federal judges over the past several years. Why they were blocked is because they were considered a massive invasion of freedom of speech. Beforehand, you had strict scrutiny, which meant the government must prove the law serves a compelling interest using the least restrictive means possible, which most laws fails this test, including age verification, most likely. But now it can be deemed under intermediate scrutiny, which means the government only needs to show the law serves an important interest and is substantially related to achieving that goal, which is a much easier standard to meet. And even they say this is a departure from a previous digital rights precedent, because normally digital rights were favored more than something like this. So this is a big loss, and I think it really calls into question how or why, if this was rolled out federally, any layer or sense of privacy would be part of this discussion. They have done everything.
There is no actual concept of privacy the government cares about.
It's harmful to everybody's privacy and comes at the cost of user freedom. And if you want to see just how scary this stuff gets, I think Australia is a really good example of how creepy this crap can be. Australia's e-safety commissioner unveiled a 2-part plan to make adult content websites check visitors' age. This means that to pass this check, you need to show a photo ID, use a facial age scan, and enter a credit card check, have parental consent, or tap into a digital identity wallet.
That is cringy.
Will have to keep the data they collect to a minimum and delete it quickly, which, as we all know, I'm sure they'll do a good job of that. Imagine going into your search engine and needing to give up your personal information just to do a basic search on the internet. It's crazy. So that's...
Hold up. You need an ID to search the internet? What the hell? That's dystopian as fuck.
The issue 1 of this data apocalypse, which is that you're going to see more data breaches as a result of this. That's not a question of if, it's a question of when. The second issue is that these platforms that are used to age verify people, here's just an example of one persona, they claim they're privacy respecting, but these companies are incentivized directly to collect more data.
So he's actually talking about something good. So I've actually worked with some people that actually were making apps and everything. You can collect a lot of data and potentially on the back end market that data as part of signing up, because nobody really reads the end user license agreement, the terms and conditions when you sign up. So when you think that you're just like, oh, I'm just verifying, to join this site, it's no problem, they want to check my ID, that's cool. They could also, at the same time, be using that image that you're capturing to verify you, to get data points to be able to sell more things on you. I want you to think about that. All these laws do is open up your attack surface for identity theft, as well as having you be used more as a product to have things sold to you.
Not less. They have shareholders, they have business models, and they will monetize data if they're able to get away with it.
Yep.
I'm not saying this exact company currently does that, but the fact that that incentive exists is a huge problem that I think most people would be.
Yeah, they don't do that
So
outright, but you can definitely build that in. I've seen it done.
The final problem I want to talk about. What makes this exponentially worse is that these age verification companies aren't bound by anything like HIPAA, which is like the health privacy regulation. Which also kind of sucks in the digital world. It doesn't really do much in a digital world, but that's...
Yeah, HIPAA doesn't really do shit. All HIPAA means is that your doctor cannot openly disclose your information without covered providers in the course of actually doing your healthcare. You just have to sign a release and all that. But HIPAA is basically not all that much, really, because, like, what was it? The 23andMe. HIPAA didn't protect that. I turned down taking a lot of these genetic tests. I had an ex-girlfriend that wanted me to do that and be like, oh, it'll be fun. You can check out your heritage. And I looked at her and I'm like, I know where my family's from. It's from Morocco. It's from Poland. It's from Hungary, Germany. And we traced our way all the way back to the Spanish Inquisition through Portugal. I don't need more than that. But, be fun. No, I'm not having my data sold.
Even existent here at all. They're not bound by strong data protection laws. If they get hacked, the liability falls on you, not them, especially in the US. The Trump administration is anti-regulation, and sadly, this is probably what we need to help combat some of these companies who can misuse your data. This deregulation applies to the FTC as well, and they've literally, God, I don't care where you stand politically, but they've literally dropped investigations into misleading subscriptions. Like, there's services that have misleading subscriptions and make it hard to cancel, and the FTC was trying to get
patterns.
And the new FTC decided, oh, we're going to drop all investigations into this. Like, I don't care which side of the spectrum you're on politically. That freaking sucks. And that kind of behavior is going to extend into these discussions as well. With verification, it means the FTC is going to be told to stand down, to not investigate, to not penalize, and companies like Discord's age verification vendor.
You think Donald Trump actually cares about little old you?
Consequences because enforcement is being deliberately deprioritized by the current administration. information. So not only are we creating this surveillance infrastructure designed to collect extremely sensitive information about people,
I turn that DNA test in case my DNA is used to turn down
gutting agencies
reject medical insurance. Yeah, that can be done for that too.
Data accountable. So your government ID is now a liability. It's a honeypot for hackers. It's a treasure chest for data brokers. And it's not a question of when, but if that data gets hacked.
So what I'm hearing from this is that we should all buy fake IDs to protect our real ID. That is a joke for anyone watching, but it's feeling like that's the case, isn't it? To the darknet! I'm kidding.
Your entire digital identity is compromised, and the company will face zero repercussions for something that you are required to do. It is mind-blowing how this is in any way acceptable.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Now, I made a quick list on my notes here of who this hurts, because this actually hurts people. It's being presented as only positive, as this protects children. It keeps children away from bad things. But this actually hurts a lot of people in the process. And I think we can do our best to help protect children and not hurt these people I'm about to list. The first is, ironically, children. There are teen abuse survivors that need help, and they need to look for resources. And they need to show their government ID now and get age-gated. And
what did we just talk about?
Potentially life-saving information from a website that could support them. So age verification doesn't protect that teen. It actually harms them. What about an 18-year-old college student looking for information about STD testing? And if we pivot to adults, we have journalists. We have journalists who are researching human trafficking rings, which involves children. They need to access websites with adult content to understand supply chains. They need to show their ID now, and now there's a permanent record that a journalist accessed 27 adult websites. We also have university researchers that study pornography's effects on the brain. They need access to data and the ability to research anonymously. A lot of research depends on the ability to access this information as if they're not an individual.
But what you think of the children?
It also makes age verification itself hard to research. Yeah, it's weird. The third thing is kind of all of us. If you're just a regular adult who doesn't want your ISP, your government, and just random tech companies knowing every website you visit and tying it to a central profile, that's now almost impossible with age verification, which is going to create a permanent record tied to your real identity for everything you do on the internet, and no semblance of real anonymity on the internet anymore. So this impacts everybody. And finally, this hurts the people who need the most help in society. There are millions of Americans that don't have access to government-issued IDs. Those are homeless individuals, low-income Americans who don't have driver's licenses. In fact, I think if you don't have a driver's license because you don't want to drive in this country, you're extremely based for that. Because I don't think we should be as car dependent as we are, and public transit needs to be stronger in this country. And I know
you still need to have a state ID for a lot of things, I will be honest there. Like, if you go to apply for a job, they need 2 forms of ID for the, what is it, the I-9 or something like that. But yeah, point still stands. There's a lot of people that don't have access to IDs that, this is going to impact.
People personally who live by this standard, and they don't have driver's licenses, so now they just can't access websites, and they need to go and get a
driver's license, but I do state ID and passport.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Fair enough.
So all of these things have potential to harm kids. It blocks adults from information they need, and it creates permanent records of everybody's internet activity tied to a government ID. That is not safety. That's a surveillance state.
On top of this, let's take another hypothetical here I just thought about. You have a family, let's say they're trapped in a cult. They're feeding you a lot of misinformation. Dangerous misinformation. Your family can shut off those children from having access to resources that could save them in many ways. What if they're in a cult trying to get out? How are they going to contact anyone? What if they, are told some really dangerous information by their parents that's actually wrong? How many times have you seen a relative say something that is incredibly wrong, harmful, or such, and you stop them because you quickly look up something on that? Let's think about first aid information, knowledge, going on YouTube. How many of us have looked up a tutorial on YouTube for something, or Reddit, or anything like that? I know Reddit's not the greatest place, but you get my point. You're shutting off one of the most vital, pieces of information. And let's look at it this way. How many kids out there start applying for jobs but don't necessarily have an ID yet. You know the kids I'm talking about. Many kids get their first job when they're like 16, maybe sometimes younger, because the parents sign off on it. Things like that. There's so many different slippery slopes here we don't think. I was going to joke and say use my library card instead of ID. I mean, yeah. Chief, why do I get the feeling that this is their point to stop the family cult? Well, yeah, you're talking about a lot of the same politicians that want to lower the age of consent for children. That's not hyperbole. Look it up. Saw a lady on TikTok freak out. She was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and oldest kid is 7. I know math isn't mathing. Her point is she doesn't have credit history and doesn't have current work history and worried. Yeah. That's a little bit effed.
I don't know how else you can possibly try to justify this as not being a surveillance state. Now, I want to make it very clear that it's not allowed to recommend tools like VPNs to bypass these things, but I will just say that VPNs are fantastic privacy tools, and we have an open source VPN chart that is a wonderful place for you to get started on some really good open source VPNs. Specifically, the top 4 are all open source, and I can highly recommend them. Proton specifically is what I'm using, and I do have an affiliate link with them that you can use down in a description.
I also am affiliated with Proton too.
Link. But again, any of those top 4
I also like Molvad too.
So check that out down in a description if you want a technical solution to have better privacy on the internet. Those tools can maintain privacy while we fight the laws themselves. Now, in terms of how to actually stop this, and this is more of like the direct action that we all should be taking. First, check out the freespeechcoalition.com. I don't actually think they include many actionable resources, but it's a great overall resource to be able to follow what's going on. They have an age verification bill tracker that you all can follow, and they do a really good job breaking things down in a clean way, regardless of who you are. Second, sign up, and if you're able to donate to the EFF, they do fantastic work when it comes to
I'm a gold member of the EFF.
Across the board,
donate.
Verification stuff.
Do
locally.
it.
Third, there's also NetChoice, who is also not just publishing and kind of doing coverage for this, but they're also doing some fighting against this as well. So those are a few places to get started. And of course, the thing that nobody wants to hear that I say in every video at this point, you need to contact your representatives. And I don't want to hear from anybody. It doesn't work. We do see that it works, especially when enough people actually cry out and say something about it.
And I want to point out something, if you're in the Discord, this is precisely why we have the US, EU, and UK legislation trackers. So we can keep an eye on every single bill that goes and rolls through so that we can monitor what our government is doing. That is precisely why I built that in to Penguin Overlord. So if you need to stay on top of laws, the Discord is a great resource. We have plenty of news sources built in. So, I mean, the Discord is just becoming more and more of a useful resource altogether. So, please join if you haven't already. The links are in bio.
I feel like nobody's talking about this problem, so you need to get active, and we need.
Someone on TikTok shared a video of Chief's UK video about VPN saying Chief should be investigated for wanting. Okay, so Kara, just so you know, I think that video you're talking about, when I looked at him, he's a parody page. I think that was satire. A good satire, don't get me wrong. But yeah, still.
And then you can find a person who you're represented by. You can go to their webpage and you can click contact and email me, and you can give all your information. So please contact your local representative. It means a lot when it's coming from you. You can also do this for your senator on senate.gov, and you can also find your senator here, and you can contact your senators there. Don't just send some AI slop. Don't make it a template. Just actually be personal. Share a little bit about yourself. Share why this concerns you specifically. And
I agree with this. Make it personal. I've contacted my representative and senator multiple times. When the TikTok ban was being proposed, I contacted them, said, look, I'm a content creator. I make cybersecurity content. I've got this many followers. I've educated people into a career field, things like that. And I try to make it as personal as possible. I call, I send an email, and I also send a physical letter. And if they have a fax machine, I will fax them too. There's eFax. I want to know why X doesn't age verify. Because the majority of X is bots. And we've seen where when geolocated, a lot of them aren't even in the US.
Around you and tell them, I want you to vote no on whatever bill number is relevant to you.
Oh yeah, I still use postage stamps.
To whatever these bills are in a specific state, and or just say that I am against
emails or emails, but a physical letter shows effort.
They're aware people are opposed to these kinds of things. And you don't have to be in the US to be a part of this fight. This stuff is happening globally, so find your representatives in other locations too, even if you're outside the US. And this is exactly the type of story that we cover here at TechLore. The surveillance threats happening right now that nobody's paying attention to. And if you like these deep dives on age verification, chat control, digital IDs, all of it, you can become a TechLorian. You can join our exclusive communities, get access to fun perks that we have for all of you. You can do it through YouTube memberships, or you can do it via our portal down in.
Yep. So I also, you know, like we were talking about, I still do use stamps because, well, need to support the post office. I actually do like the post office. I got family that works at the post office. So, yeah. But you still use fax. I don't have a physical fax machine. I did used to have a line set up for VoIP fax with T38 fax, which I still recommend their service. It's a small business out of a nearby state that does it really well and a reliable system. It's a dying art, unfortunately. But there's like J2 fax, eFax services and all that. But with all of that being said, it's getting a little late. I do have work tomorrow. And, yeah. I may try and stream again on Friday. We got a lot of a backlog to do. At the very least, I'm definitely going to try to be on sooner on Sunday for the next planned stream. But yeah, the next planned stream is Sunday as well. So thank you all for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on all of my socials. The links are in the bio. I'm on TikTok, Twitch, not Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and of course we have the Discord and the Matrix servers. The links are in the bio for all of you. Stay safe. I love y'all. And stick around for the raid if you're on Twitch. But I will see you next time. Happy hacking, everyone.